City Clerk, you ready?
Recording in progress.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to City Hall. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, also referred to as Cinco de Mayo. So welcome to City Hall. It is 7:02 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I'd like to call upon Councilmember Andrews, if she can please say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand if you're able to.
Thank you. Next item is Madam City Clerk, if you please take roll.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Andrews.
Present.
Councilmember Bonilla Jr.
Present.
Councilmember Goldstein.
Present.
Councilmember Roach.
Present.
Councilmember Sire.
Present.
Councilmember Cermeño. Mayor Salinas.
Present. Thank you. Next, I'd like, well, actually, I have, let me get organized here. I have two special presentations today. One presentation is for La Alianza student recognition. The second presentation is the Public Service Recognition Week. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the Public Service Recognition Week first, and then I will we'll do the La Alianza students. So, what I'll do, and then to receive the proclamation for our Public Service Recognition Week is our Director of Human Resources, Ian Texon. Ian, Director Texon, if you can come on up, and I will read the proclamation, and then I will give it to you, and we'll take a picture, and then we'll go to the next one. So, proclamation. Whereas public servants are the unsung heroes who proudly do the work that keeps government moving at the federal, state, county, and city levels, and whereas the public servants employed by the City of Hayward are proud individuals committed to providing excellent service to the Hayward community, and whereas the City of Hayward public employees take not only jobs but oaths to protect, serve, and support the community, and whereas City of Hayward public employees are registered disaster workers who will return to work in the face of an emergency to provide service and promote to the Hayward community, and whereas many public servants include police officers, firefighters, and others risk their lives every day to protect life and property and maintain a safe and clean environment for the community they serve. Whereas public servants include maintenance workers, clerical and administrative workers, analysts, animal care attendants, programmers, community service operators, computer technicians, attorneys, counselors, accountants, and countless other occupations day in and day out, and they provide the diverse services that the American people deserve from their government at the federal and state level, and for those in the communities at the county and city level with integrity and efficiency. Now, therefore, I, Mark Salinas, Mayor of the City of Hayward, do hereby proclaim the week of May 3rd to May 9th Public Service Recognition Week. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give everybody who works in public service a big round of applause. You know, we had a Bring Your Kid to Work day last week, and I just wanted to just acknowledge that and say that it was a wonderful day. The weather was great, but it was a time where, you know, all these kids were all over the maintenance yard, the maintenance services department yard. And they were all wearing orange T-shirts, and so they were certainly visible. But it was one of the observations and one of the takeaways I took on that afternoon was, you know, the city of Hayward, just within our organization, we have about 1,000 employees, plus or minus some. We do have, in virtually every department, particularly in maintenance services and the fire department and the police department, we have generations of families who work in our city, families that have gone back to the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, and we have now grandkids and great-grandkids that are working in some of our departments. And so it just demonstrates that public service here in the city of Hayward, we take it seriously. We support our public service employees. And Director Texon, please tell all of the employees in the city of Hayward that the council appreciates them, acknowledges their work, and thanks them every day for everything they do for the city of Hayward. Thank you. Let's give another big round of applause. Okay. Our next item, what did I do? Our next item is the La Alianza Scholarship recipients. And this is in honor and recognition of Cinco de Mayo today. And these scholarships go to 8 incredible students in Hayward who have demonstrated academic achievement and have demonstrated leadership in the city and amongst their classmates. And what I wanted to do is wanted to call up, and I know we have Ms. Mariana Treviso, who works for the school district, and I know Councilmember Cermeño is associated and is a member of La Alianza. And so I wanted to recognize them. So let's give them a big round of applause. And the students, and by the way, I did hear, I don't know if this is a secret or not, but you know, they are scholarships. And this is no chump change, just for the record. These are some handsome scholarships. Each scholarship is a $500 scholarship. So let's give $500 a big round of applause. I mean, that's worth a round of applause, you know? So these are the students. We have Kimberly Murillo. Kimberly from Brinkwitz High School. Kimberly, is Kimberly here? Kimberly, why don't you come on up and then, yeah, come on up. And then we have Edwin Antonio from Brinkwitz. Edwin, yeah, come on up. Thais Hinostrosa. Alessandra, and Miss Hinostrosa is from Mount Eden High School. Mount Eden, let's give it up for Mount Eden. You know, if I didn't do that, Dr. Walton would text me later about that. So she would. Alessandra Cassini Hernandez, another Monarch. Monarchs are in the house. Monarch.
Did you say future gaucho from
You know, is that a Santa Barbara sweatshirt that you're wearing?
Yeah.
Is that a Santa Barbara? Are you wearing that sweatshirt thinking that your check would be a little bit bigger because of Councilmember Cermeño? He's a gaucho. Next is Ramses Hernandez from Hayward High School. Nice. And for any farmer that gets a scholarship, they get a lifetime supply of, I don't know, In-N-Out burgers. I don't know. There's Go Farmers. I don't know. I'm kidding. Just, you know. Let's see. Go Farmers. And then another farmer, Michelle Perez, Hayward High School. Michelle. And then Rebecca Carranza from Tennyson High School. Rebecca. And then, let's see, we have another Lancer, is Sofia Correa. Sophia here? Nice. So these are the La Alianza 2026 scholars. So let's give it up for La Alianza. Ms. Treviso, do you have a couple of words to say? Hit the button. Red is go.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
okay. So I just want to congratulate you all and let you know what our process was. We asked for anyone to apply that was a first-gen student and that had plans to go to college or career. So and they had to have, they show that they have overcome or persevered through a challenge in their life to be where they are at currently. And so we received over 64 applicants from all 4 of the high schools. And so it was a really tough choice. But I just want to let you all know that you stood out. And we appreciate you taking the time and the energy and the effort. We know a lot of you are AP testing right now. A lot of you are preparing for graduation. And so it is a really taxing time for all of you, but we wanted to show that we really care about the students of Hayward and them pursuing their careers or going to college, and it matters. And that's why we do what we do. We also sponsor the Cinco de Mayo event from this weekend, but really that is to raise money to give out scholarships and give back to the community. So in the future, we hope to give more scholarships, the more sponsorship and support that we receive through the activities that we do in the city of Hayward. So thank you, and please congratulate everybody once again for their hard work.
Nice. And you know, I don't know if I'm legally capable of doing this, but Mr. City Attorney, can I confer graduation today and just get it over with? No, can't do it. Can't do it. Okay. Well, if I could, I would. So let's pass out the certificates.
And on the top is your $500 in the envelope, so take care of
Okay. Let's give everyone a big round of applause again, just because, you know, school's almost out. I don't want to brag, but next week, Chabot College's last day of instructions next week. So, and of course, let's congratulate the parents. Let's give a big round of applause to the parents. Yeah. You know, if your parents' experience is anything like my parents' experience getting me through school, you deserve a big round of applause. So congratulations to all of you. So thank you very much. And, you know, get out there and keep succeeding. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to our next item, I wanted to go back in the agenda and ask our city attorney for a closed session announcement.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to confirm what the council did in closed session, which was to convene at 5:30 with all members present to continue the evaluation of the city clerk. This is an evaluation of all council-appointed officers that takes place annually. This was the second session. And Mayor, can you confirm that that actually took place?
It did take place.
And when did it adjourn? Approximately?
Approximately 5:50.
Right. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Okay, moving on to public comments. This is reserved for anybody in the audience or online that would like to make a public comment on something that is not on the agenda. I do have 3 cards here in person. Our first public comment comes to us by way of Chandra Joshi.
Good evening, honorable council members of the city of the Hayward. My name is Chandra Joshi, and I'm here as an American citizen and a proud Hindu. And I'm here to draw your attention to the Hindu hatred spewed by a man named Peter Friedrich, who would likely walk into this chamber in the next few weeks. Mr. Friedrich has spent years going to city councils, over 100 of them delivering public comments that frame Hindu Americans as extremist networks loyal to foreign governments. He does this every time a Hindu American candidate runs for a federal office. Ms. Rakhi Israni, who is a Hindu American, is running for Congress, so I am sure he'll be here in the next few weeks. I want to be very specific about the language that he uses, because it is more extreme than most people realize until you actually read it. Mr. Friedrich published an article calling donors of Hindu American congressional candidates as Nazi sympathizers. He claims that any Hindu American candidate who has ever attended a Hindu temple event or donated to a Hindu organization is a would-be Nazi. He built dedicated attack websites for Mr. Congressman Krishnamurti of the Illinois, a Democrat, state Republican Senator Padma Kupa of Michigan, another Democrat, and state Representative Neeraj Antani of Ohio, a Republican. So the party doesn't matter. If you are a Hindu American politician, you are a foreign agent. That is his theory. He labeled Hindu Americans as fascist with links to violence without any credible evidence. Honorable Mr. Jesse Jackson publicly condemned these attacks on Congressman Krishnamurti, who is a Harvard Law School graduate and a senior member of the House. Mr. Friedrich proposed that the idea that if you are a Hindu American and you are politically engaged, you are not really a loyal American. Your donations to the congressional candidates are not civic participations, they are foreign operations. Your temple is not a house of worship, just like any other faith. It's a front. And you yourself are not a citizen, but a foreign agent. This idea is not new, Councilman. Jewish Americans heard it for a century. Jewish money in politics, the claim that supporting Jewish candidates meant supporting Israel over America. Catholic Americans have heard this in the 1800s when people genuinely argued that Catholic Americans would not be trusted with US citizenship. The structure of the accusations is identical every time, only the targets change. Mr. Friedrich, for what it's worth, described his own political...
Mr. Joshi, your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Diane Castleberry. Ms. Castleberry, welcome to City Hall.
Good evening, Mayor Salinas, members of the council, City Manager Ott, community, and staff. So my name is Diane Castleberry. I'm with AC Transit, and I'm here just to make an update on the future of our service, AC Transit bus service. On Wednesday, June 10th at 5 p.m., the AC Transit Board of Directors will consider reducing service due to a significant budget shortfall. And this is a contingency service plan. While a state loan has stabilized our budget for the next fiscal year, AC Transit is facing a $200 million deficit over the next 4 years. Without new sustainable revenue, we are facing the possibility of service reductions of over 16%, and that equates to about 100 buses removed off the roadway and the loss of up to 300 jobs. AC Transit has started to prepare for this worst-case scenario. If no new funding is secured by the end of this calendar year, service reductions will likely take effect in June of 2027. At this time, there are no decisions made. The board will be receiving a report at their June 10th meeting where feedback we'll be asking for feedback from the board and also from the public. Our priority is to preserve current service levels. We also want to be transparent about the challenges that we face. So once again, the AC Transit Board of Directors will be meeting to consider options to reduce service on Wednesday, June 10th at 5 p.m. It's a hybrid meeting, so it's also available on Zoom. We invite the community to attend an open house that will be available before that meeting with service staff available to help answer questions regarding some of the proposed changes. So again, the address at AC Transit's main office is 1600 Franklin Street. We'll also be in the community here in Hayward, and that information will be provided in an e-newsletter coming out within the next couple of weeks. So you'll see us out in the community so that you can ask us questions. So with that, thank you very much for your time. I know that budgets have been hard for all agencies at this time, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sky Smith.
Good evening, councilmen and women and members of the community. My name is Sky Smith. I'm a former high school teacher and current aerospace test pilot. And some of you will probably most commonly see me running around the Sky West Golf Course property, which is a wonderful green space we have, in the mornings with my McNabb Shepherd named Jet. That is a gem of a property we have, and it's at risk, potentially, of having industrial warehouses put there. And those industrial warehouses, when we want to reach a net zero kind of greening our city's plan for the future, it increases the noise footprint. It is 85 decibels is the noise footprint that you get from a air brakes on a trucker's on a truck. And if we were to promote net zero aviation, there are electric aircraft that we could use to generate revenue, and they only produce no immediate environmental carbon emissions in the neighborhood, and they're only 60 decibels in noise. It's a log scale, for those of you who don't like math. Let me break that down for you. That's 300, the difference between 60 and 85 is 316 times more sound force, and that will arrive at your ears at 5.6% more noise. So that's one of the big complaints about aviation. And if we make green aviation sort of initiative that we push for at the Hayward Executive Airport, that also enables us to keep out the warehouses and preserve much of that space for a green hub and put a 5-kilometer trail loop around there, and that can also have us take care of the space to protect it for the migrating monarch butterflies and the western pond turtle. And one of the key features in being able to do this is I would love to see us be able to partner with our local school districts. I wish I had been exposed to the opportunities of aviation when I was in middle school and high school, and there would be a great opportunity for STEM projects in maintenance, repair, and various science technology with aviation development that could bring great clean energy, green jobs right here in our community for our local high school students. So I see if we, some people, I have not handled big infrastructure problems before, but I'm no stranger to performance in high stakes environments under pressure as a test pilot, as a former US Army infantry officer, and as a Harvard trained neuroscientist. So I want to see the community come together because I think it can give us great benefit for our future and for the future of our young people. And so I kind of urge everybody to come together on this and choose innovation over asphalt.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam City Manager, I was going to ask our Public Works Director, Sky West, if I'm not mistaken, it's closed, right? And nobody should be in Sky West, and nobody should be walking.
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I don't have any more cards, and let me see. I don't have. I don't see anybody online, so I will close public comment. Hold on. I will close public comment and move on to a city manager's comments. Madam City Manager.
Great. Thank you, Mayor, council members. Hayward Public Library hosted a very successful kickoff last Saturday of the 5th Annual Lit Hop Festival, celebrating poetry and literature in Hayward. This event, which occurs every year on Independent Bookstore Day, also marks the end of National Poetry Month. Our newest poet laureate, Mo Kim Tong, he's our newest poet laureate, and he's read a poem to the lovers of the written word in Hayward. And accordingly, Hayward Library Director Gianti Adelman, the lineup of poets was exceptional this year, including poets from the faculty of both Chabot College and CSU East Bay, and our youth poet laureate at Ziri Uyoa, and Hayward's first poet laureate, Bruce Reiberts. We also, upcoming on May 9th, have the ever-popular City of Hayward Spring Compost Giveaway, which returns to the SkyWest property this Saturday at 1401 Golf Course Road, adjacent to Hayward Executive Airport from 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. As our Hayward gardeners know, compost is a nutrient-rich soil amendment made of decomposed organic matter, which can improve soil moisture retention, promote plant growth, and sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So all Hayward households and multifamily property managers can pick up as many as 4 1-cubic-foot bags of compost while they last. To participate, you must bring proof of Hayward residency and a signed waiver. The waivers are available on the city's website. Also, on May 14th, we have Bike to Work or Whenever Day, or wherever today. That makes more sense. Bike to Work Day is a region-wide event on May 14th to celebrate biking as a part of daily life and to encourage new riders. There will be several Energizer stations throughout Hayward and the East Bay offering coffee, snacks, and giveaways, including 2 city-sponsored stations where you can meet friendly members of our transportation and environmental services staff. The Energizer stations will be located at downtown Hayward BART Station from 7 to 10 and the South Hayward BART Station from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then lastly, earlier we had our formal Public Service Recognition Week 2026 presentation, and I thank you, Mayor Salinas and council members, for recognizing the contributions and excellence of our city staff. And I also just wanted to take a moment to thank the organization myself. And as you and our staff know, we are in a period of extraordinary challenge on the budgetary and fiscal front, and I honestly would not want to be meeting these challenges with any other group of professionals. So Team Hayward is an incredibly creative and committed family of public servants. So thank you very much.
Thank you, absolutely. And I know this week there are some activities planned, and but when you do have the next opportunity, when you have an all staff meeting, please tell all of our employees that we all appreciate their service and contributions to the city.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to our action items, we will go to our consent calendar. Nobody has asked me to pull anything, so I will. Councilmember Andrews would like to make a comment on an item.
I wanted to make a comment on number 7. All right. I just want to thank Commissioner / former Chair Melissa Millman for her time on the Clean and Green Commission. I know that she worked really hard on the commission on many events and outreach for the city as it relates to our clean and green goals. So I hope you're doing well, and we look forward to seeing you out at cleanups in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, absolutely. Let me, oops. Hold on. Okay. Before I go to the mover and seconder, I'd like to close council comments, open it for public comments. Is there any public comment on consent calendar? I don't have any cards. I don't see anybody online. Let me confirm that. I don't see anybody online. And so I do have a motioner who is Mayor Pro Tem Syrup. I don't have a seconder.
A second. Sorry, I didn't.
Seconded by Councilmember Goldstein.
Oh.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Syrup, seconded by Councilmember Goldstein, and Madam City Clerk. Let's vote. And the first vote of the night, it is unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Next, moving on to our work session item. Work session is our item number 8, WS 26-012 Capital Improvement Program, review of recommended capital improvement program for fiscal year 27 through fiscal year 36. And this is going to come to us by way of our Public Works Director, Alex Amiri. And I wanted to acknowledge my colleagues who are on the Airport and Infrastructure Committee, Mayor Pro Tem Syrup and Councilmember Andrews. We have heard this presentation before, but wanted to thank our Public Works Director for all his work and your staff for all your work on this, on the capital improvement plan. So with no further ado, Director Amiri.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm pleased to be here this evening to present the city's FY27, FY36 10-year capital improvement program. The development of the CIP has been a process involving many staff from various departments over the past several months. Public Works and Utilities team have been led by Senior Management Analyst Ellie Lowe, and the process managed by Management Analyst Marissa Mata. As always, engineers, planners, management analysts, and other staff in various divisions and departments have been involved in the process and contributed to it. The CIP was presented to the Planning Commission in April, and the Commission found that the CIP is consistent with the city's 2040 general plan. As you mentioned, the CIP was also presented to the Council Infrastructure and Airport Committee, and the committee recommended its approval to Council. I now turn this over to Marissa Mata to kick kick off the staff presentation. Thank you. Marissa, are you there?
Yes, good evening, City Council. Just confirming you can see my screen and hear me clearly?
Yes.
Great. Okay, as Alex mentioned, my name is Marissa Mata, a management analyst for Public Works and Utilities. Tonight, I will be presenting the recommended fiscal year 27 Capital Improvement Program, or CIP, for your review and comment. For the past several years, the CIP has been developed as an online book using OpenGov Stories. The online version can be found on the city's website, linked on the screen here. OpenGov Stories is intended to increase the user-friendliness and ease of navigation within the document and make it more publicly accessible. Although Council is already familiar with the online CIP, I will now provide a brief tour for the public of the online book. One moment while I switch screens. Okay. The online version of the CIP can be accessed at www.hayward-ca.gov/CIP. Scrolling down on the CIP webpage, the public will see this first blue bar here, which will take the public to the online version of the CIP. This is the recommended viewing experience for the CIP because it includes a number of interactive tables and charts. The second blue bar here is to view the entire CIP document in a PDF format. There is also a section on the website for the fiscal year 2026 CIP semi-annual progress report, where the public can view status of current projects. Now I'll open the online version of the CIP by clicking on the first blue bar here. On this page, you will see the homepage. If you scroll down a bit, you'll see the 4 main sections of the CIP, which are the introduction section. Second, the strategic priority section. Third is the explore the budget section, which is the heart of the CIP with key budget insights. And lastly, the table of contents page. First, we'll take a look at the explore the budget page. This page summarizes the fiscal year 27 CIP at a high level. The recommended fiscal year 27 CIP budget is $264 million, with the total 10-year budget at $1.3 billion. Below are other key insights, such as the fiscal year 27 general fund transfers to CIP funds, the fiscal year 27 internal service fees, and the total identified but unfunded capital needs. Scrolling down further, you can choose to view details of the recommended CIP by fund or by category. I'll start by clicking on the by fund link here. Here, the public can see an overview of the city's fund portfolio and the total recommended budget amounts for specific funds. If the public keeps scrolling down the page, they'll see a description of each fund, and every underlined text will link to a new page that will show the various projects within each fund. For example, if I click on Fund 213, Measure BB, Pedestrian and Bicycle, I will be taken to a separate page dedicated to Fund 213 projects. I can view the various projects within the fund and category in the table. And beneath the table, there is also a short list of featured projects, with each having their own project page. For example, if I click on the High Injury Network Safety Plan project here, I will see an image and description of the project, revenue sources that contribute to this project, the general fund or Measure C impact, and the project expense budget. Now we'll go back to the Explore the Budget page. And this time we'll look at the budgets by category page. Once again, the public will see a pie chart with the fiscal year 27 total budget, but this time broken down by category. Just like the fund page, the public will see a table with the list of projects and their budgets organized by category. If the public continues down the page, they will also see links to the pages for each category. For example, if I click on the Livable Neighborhoods category here, I'll see a description of what the category is, and then another table with the projects and budgets that are in this category. Similar to viewing by fund, the bottom of the page will also show all of the featured projects within this category. Now we'll go back to the Explore the Budget page one more time. I would like to point out a few helpful resources. First is Appendix A, which allows the public to search for a specific project budget. Second, Appendix B allows the public to search for a specific project description. And lastly, I'd like to point out the bottom of every page has a link to the Table of Contents section. When you open the Table of Contents, you will see an overview of the structure of the CIP and links to every single page in the CIP. This is the best way to navigate to a particular section or page quickly. This concludes the tour of the online CIP budget book. I will now return to the presentation. One moment as I switch screens once again. Okay. The proposed CIP includes a total recommended budget of approximately $264 million in fiscal year 2027 and a total budget of approximately $1.3 billion in the entire 10-year planning period from fiscal year 2027 through 2036.
Marissa, we can't see your presentation.
Sorry about that. There we go. Can you see now?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so as I mentioned, a recommended budget of approximately $264 million for fiscal year 27, and the total budget of approximately $1.3 billion for the entire 10-year period. The document also includes a proposed general fund transfer of approximately $3.7 million in fiscal year 27. Detailed information about transfers requested at the Council Infrastructure and Airport Committee meeting from April 22nd is included in the staff report. Most of the general fund transfer increase covers non-discretionary expenses, supporting basic operational needs for multiple departments in Fund 405, such as police equipment like integrated cameras and field operations equipment, and fire equipment such as fire radio replacements. For the Facilities Management Fund, staff is currently proposing a $1.1 million general fund transfer. However, as part of the preparation for the May 12th operating budget work session, staff has identified another possible source of funding for this transfer. If the funding source is feasible, staff will make that update to the CIP document that comes to Council for adoption in June. The transfer amount fluctuates from year to year depending on needs. The recommended CIP also includes proposed internal service fees. These are fees that are collected when one city department provides a service to another, drawing those service expenses from the operating budget of the benefiting department. The fiscal year 27 CIP currently includes a recommended ISF of approximately $2 million. However, as part of the preparation for the May 12th operating budget work session, staff has identified another possible source of funding for the facility capital ISF in Fund 726 and savings to reduce the IT capital ISF in Fund 731 to $460,000. If feasible, staff will make these updates in the CIP document that comes to Council for adoption in June. Further, staff was able to defer purchases for fiscal year 27 in Fund 736 Fleet Management Capital, removing the need for a general fund transfer. This slide provides a snapshot of the recommended CIP budget broken down by category. The amounts shown are the forecasted expenses that are planned for fiscal year 27. As you can see here, the largest portion of the recommended fiscal year 27 budget has been programmed in the sewer system category in orange. This category encompasses a wide range of projects which support the ongoing replacement and improvement of our utility infrastructure. Projects include the annual sewer line replacement and the Phase 2 improvement project at the Water Resource Recovery Facility. The second largest category is the water system projects category in blue, which includes projects like the annual water line replacements, various groundwater sustainability projects, and the needs assessment for a new corporation yard. Other categories include municipal facilities improvement, pavement rehabilitation, and airport projects, to name a few. On the previous slide, we displayed the recommended CIP by category, such as road and streets. This slide shows a snapshot of our recommended budget broken down by fund as opposed to category. So you will see funds such as gas tax, which actually support the road and streets category. As you can see on the chart, funds with the largest allocation of the recommended budget are the water and sewer system funds in orange and blue. The fund with the third largest budget allocation is Fund 405 for capital projects. Many projects in Fund 405 fall within the livable neighborhoods category, such as La Vista Park and the South Hayward Youth and Family Center. The livable neighborhoods category includes beautification, safety, and neighborhood amenities and improvement projects, like the South Hayward Youth and Family Center and La Vista Park. Other examples include the Campus Drive Improvements Project, through which a series of traffic calming measures are being implemented in the stretch of Campus Drive between 2nd Street and Hayward Boulevard. Next, the Alameda County Transportation Commission Safe Routes to School program conducts regular school safety assessments for public schools in Hayward and throughout the county, resulting in a set of infrastructure recommendations to make it safer and easier for students to bike and walk to school. Hayward's Safe Routes to School program was created to implement these recommendations in collaboration with Hayward Unified School District, Alameda CTC, and various community organizations. The plans for this project are currently being developed. The city's Safe Routes for Seniors project identifies areas in Hayward to focus accessibility and walkability improvements through collaborative efforts between the city and local senior housing facilities, senior centers, and community-based organizations. The design for this project has been completed, and staff is currently working on a plan to implement construction. The improvements will be near Weeks Community Center Park, along Patrick Avenue and Tampa Avenue, and at the intersection of Tennyson Road and Oliver Drive. Lastly, another project in this category is the Industrial Parkway Roos Road Intersection Improvement Project, which will improve traffic safety at the intersection. A key project in the roads and streets category is the Interstate 880 interchange improvements, Winton Avenue, A Street. The first phase of this project focuses on the I-880 A Street interchange location, where the project will construct shared pedestrian and bicycle separated paths, make enhancements to the interchange, and improve the freeway ramps and traffic signals for safer, more efficient operation. It will also address safety at the I-880 on and off ramps and will create improved pedestrian and bicycle connectivity under the freeway. Another project in this category is the Tennyson Road Railroad Crossing Safety Enhancement Project, located by Tennyson High School. This project will improve the safety at the at-grade rail crossing located on Tennyson Road by mitigating potential hazards to reduce the chance of future incidents, especially as this area is frequented by students. Proposed improvements include installation of queue-cutter signals, signage, striping, crosswalk, bulb outs, pedestrian channelization, fencing, and trespass mitigation. This project is fully funded by the Rail Highway Crossing Program, or the Section 130 program. The pavement rehabilitation category comprises all annual pavement rehab projects and is the fourth largest category in the CIP, with approximately $13.3 million in recommended programming for fiscal year 27. The table on this slide shows the city's historical pavement condition index, or PCI, for the last 10 years. It is measured on a scale of 0 to 100, where 100 means a newly paved road. As the table shows, PCI has had significant improvements over the last several years. A key project in the municipal facility improvements category is the Public Safety Center project. The existing Hayward Police Station no longer meets the space, operational, staffing, and security requirements for the Hayward Police Department. The new Public Safety Center project developed the conceptual design of the new facility, which included site assessment of two potential locations, which were the former California Air National Guard site and the former City Hall building on Foothill Boulevard, although the city is now focusing on the California Air National Guard site as the preferred location for this project. The scope of work encompassed identifying space needs, conducting site analysis and design, creating facility layout plans, and cost analysis. The sewer system category is the largest of the categories in the CIP and includes projects which are enterprise fund supported and are related to the improvement of our sewer system, water reuse efforts, and the water resource recovery facility. Some major projects in this category include the fiscal year 27 sewer line replacement project, the water resource recovery facility phase 2 improvement projects, and phase 2 recycled water projects. Staff is currently developing a recycled water master plan to guide design and construction efforts for phase 2 of the recycled water program. Phase 2 will involve increasing the recycled water customer base, which will require designing and constructing an expanded treatment facility to meet the increased demand. Water system projects are also enterprise fund supported and are related to the improvement of our water system, as well as projects which promote water conservation. Some major projects include the cast iron water pipeline replacement program, as well as the annual water line replacement project, through which we aim to replace 2 miles of water pipeline every year. The fleet management category is comprised of projects involving the replacement of fleet units in various departments, divisions, or work groups, and other city-related vehicles. Fleet purchases benefiting the fire and police departments are predominantly funded by general fund, while those benefiting the airport, stormwater, sewer, and water divisions are predominantly supported by enterprise funding. A project in this category is the citywide EV charging upgrade. Staff is working with Ava Community Energy to install 1 to 3 fast charging hubs for electric vehicle charging, the first of which will be Muni Lot 4, which is located between B and C Street, east of Foothill Boulevard. The hubs will be entirely funded by Ava Community Energy, will serve the general public, and will also be sited to serve residents of multifamily properties, many of which are older buildings that lack the infrastructure needed to support EV charging. The equipment and software category primarily includes equipment-related purchases supporting the fire, police, and information technology departments, such as the purchase of radios, fleet cameras, and replacement of aging fiber optic lines between city facilities. The recommended fiscal year 27 CIP includes approximately $3 million in this category. While equipment and software is not traditionally included in capital improvement programs, in 2012, Council directed their inclusion in the CIP for better visibility and having all equipment expenditures included in the same document. The airport category is comprised of all projects within Fund 621 Airport Capital, which support improvements to the Hayward Executive Airport. One key project in this category is the Sulphur Creek Mitigation Project, which will allow for the design, engineering, and construction of enclosing portions of Sulphur Creek adjacent to airport runways. The project includes a total budget of $8.3 million, which is being funded by the Federal Aviation Administration, Caltrans Division of Aeronautics, and the city's Airport Enterprise Fund. And finally, the miscellaneous category includes projects that do not fit into other categories, such as the 2040 General Plan Update, the Route 238 property projects, and the parcel group projects. The parcel group projects, which are currently budgeted at $500,000 combined in fiscal year 27, are used to facilitate the new cohesive development of former Caltrans 238 property parcels with the goals of eliminating blight, creating public benefits for the community, and generating excess land value to the city. In addition to including recommended project budgets, the CIP also includes a list of identified and unfunded capital needs. One of the largest unfunded needs continues to be the renovation of the Corporation Yard. The necessary improvements to the Corp Yard were estimated to amount to more than $140 million. The fiscal year 27 CIP includes a Corporation Yard Needs Assessment project, which is funding the development and revised assessment to determine the current improvement needs and update costs. Another significant need included in the unfunded capital needs list is the Stack Center, which currently has an unfunded need of an estimated $25 million for future phases of the project. Compared to last fiscal year, the unfunded needs have decreased by $70 million, which is largely due to significant improvements in pavement management. After publication of the recommended CIP, staff identified a needed update to Fund 405. Growth within the Public Works and Utilities Department means the current workspace would be at capacity with full staffing. There is also a need for an additional large conference room as an alternative to 2A for council committees, and various city staff meetings when conference room 2A is not otherwise available. Staff proposes adding a City Hall second floor facility improvement project to create a new large conference room and potentially 1 or 2 offices for deputy directors' use. The project, currently estimated at $550,000, would be funded through non-general fund sources split amongst water, wastewater, and Measure D augmentation funds. This graphic is intended to demonstrate the CIP's alignment with the city's strategic roadmap. The list of projects featured here is not exhaustive, but does demonstrate an overview of the priorities that CIP projects support. For example, you can see that CIP projects tend to directly support the invest in infrastructure priority. However, many of the projects support multiple priorities simultaneously. And that concludes the presentation. It is staff's recommendation that council review and comment on the recommended fiscal year 27 CIP. We are now available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Very good, very comprehensive. And before I call upon council, what I'd like to do is open it up for public comments. I don't have any cards with me here on the dais. I do want to turn to online, and our first caller is TJ, Hayward Concerned Citizens.
Hi there. Yeah, this is TJ with HCC. Did I hear this right? And I know you're not going to answer, but you want to build a new conference room in the upstairs when you've just decided to minimize how many meetings that you're having per month? That doesn't make sense to me. I know it's a different bucket but of funds, but it still makes absolutely no sense to me. Just had to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last public comment online, so I'd like to close public comment and then come to council. And let me. Mayor Pro Tem Syrup.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the report. We have had a chance to look at this at Council on Infrastructure, but I think I just wanted to continue the conversation on where these items should live. There's Fund 405 that comes out of the general fund and goes into the capital improvement fund. And part of the discussion and what was in the staff report was about bringing some of those items back into the general fund. But based off of the staff report, it also sounds like there's an intention to move these items back in 2012 into this 405 fund for better transparency, which I think I understand the intention behind. I mean, I don't know if these specific line items would have surfaced if it was just within the general fund amongst everything else. So I see the value in it, but I think the side effect that at least I'm experiencing, and let me know if I'm interpreting this incorrectly, is then it becomes an extension of pre-existing budgets for specific departments. So when we're looking at a $2.5 million transfer, whatever the specific number is here, that's in addition to what's already being budgeted for let's say police or fire, which are like the primary spenders in that 405 transfers. Is that correct? This is in addition to what we've already budgeted for?
That is correct.
Okay, so that really is my concern there, is it makes it really hard for us to budget holistically when there's a surprise, $1 to $2 million coming down the pipeline. And I think culturally, at least what I've seen prior to my time on council and while on council, is sometimes a decision around a specific purchase might be coming forward and the excuse is, oh, well, we've already budgeted for this, which is different than should we do it or not. And so sometimes the fact that we'd already budgeted for it, so for example, let's say we move forward with this capital improvement budget, isn't necessarily an approval of all these items. We still should have a conversation on license plate readers, for example, right? But just because we've budgeted for it and, in case we do move forward with it, have the funds isn't necessarily a symbol of approval. But I don't think it's always treated that way. So I guess I just, from staff's perspective, I'm curious, it says staff is evaluating whether or not to move these items back into the general fund so that they're not this additional fund on top of our budget. Where's the thinking currently as far as maintaining transparency but also not having any surprise balloon budgets?
So thank you very much for your comment. we actually wanted to bring this before you and to your attention, talk about the pluses and minuses, and whatever is the decision of council, we are going to implement it promptly.
Okay. I guess I don't want to lose transparency into these items, so I understand why this was done. So yeah, City Manager, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think our recommendation is a lot of these things that you'll see, and we're happy to answer questions about, our annual subscriptions and things like that. You wouldn't typically in other cities find in a CIP program. That typically are more one-time expenses. And so I think our recommendation would be to move, and some of them are supplies that are just ongoing supplies. So we would recommend trying to move these into the relevant operating budgets in the subsequent year. We thought about doing it this year, but with all the transition occurring this fiscal year, we just decided to not change the way we were doing the CIP, to try to keep something constant while we worked on the operating budget a little more carefully. But I think our recommendation would be to do that for the next operating budget.
Okay.
Or next CIP, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I'm aligned with that direction. How do we maintain the transparency around some of these subscription items? Is it that we change our practice around budget time where certain subscription items are surfaced in our operating budget as opposed to the capital improvement budget?
I mean, I think it's a fair question. I think there's something that you're particularly focused on. It's hard. We wouldn't normally in an operating budget get into the details of every services and supply line item.
Yeah.
I think, if you are focused on police department, for instance, we every year, we do our 481 hearing. I mean, so there are other mechanisms in play for those larger kind of new items. So it's really up to you. We could, if there are particular department or particular source, certain types of fund or costs that you want us to really highlight, we could do that through the process.
Got it. And then could you remind me, just for the benefit of the public, what is our current threshold when an item needs to come to the full council for a purchase? Is it 100, 150?
It's 100,000.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification.
That's another opportunity that you would see items, if they're above 100,000, they would come before you.
Okay,
as
great.
an item,
Okay, so I want to simplify operations, but also maintain transparency, so I think that makes sense to me. And then, just to comment on the second floor facility, I know we have a room 2B that's underutilized, maybe because it doesn't have the proper technology set up. I mean, are there ways that we can retrofit pre-existing rooms to be compatible for the conference uses that staff are recommending there? I don't think this staff room was presented at SEAC before, so I guess just some more information on this recommendation that you're putting forward.
So as you may recall, room 2B does not have a standard shape. It is awkwardly located, small. It's not suitable, for instance, to have a council work session there. This is a room that is going to be used for purposes of council work session, for instance, or if there are commission meetings that conflict with the use of 2A, they can use. It is right outside of 2A. It is slightly smaller than 2A, but still large enough to accommodate council meetings and such. For your council infrastructure meeting, if you recall, we had a conflict with a commission meeting that had inadvertently scheduled a meeting in 2A. So we had to take our meeting to the airport, which does not have the facilities that room 2A has. So this is going to be an alternative to the use of 2A for council use, for commission use, and also for the departmental staff. We have about 60 staff there on second floor, and sometimes we need to have larger meetings when 2A is not available.
Understood. So then my two follow-ups would be, the first question is the funding sources. Just to clarify, this is not, you've identified funding that's not pulling from the general fund for this.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, great, thank you. And then I guess the second point of clarification, more of a statement than a question, is just that there are several meetings that take place at the city beyond just the council meetings, which have since been reduced. We have commissions meeting, we have committees meeting, and then it sounds like staff also has to have meetings. So if we're not pulling from the general fund to help streamline our operations here as a city and make sure that we're able to provide our function as a public forum, I have no issue with that, and I'm open to hearing what my colleagues think about it as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And thank you to my colleagues that have worked on the infrastructure committee on this work who really sort of nailed down on this. I appreciate it. And to staff, I know this is a huge project to bring together, so thank you for that. I do want to touch on what Councilmember Syrup said, because I agree. I think bringing it back in the operating budgets to the general fund is probably a good idea, because I think these are the kind of items that kind of got lost between budget lines, and and then the different departments would come mid-year and say, oh, we have these licenses or subscriptions, and those amounts I think we're adding up over time, and if we aren't really clear about where they are, like there has to be some sort of line item created, even if that's some projection that is off, but that's where those kind of items live. We absolutely have to do. I think it's what got us in trouble in the past, and so I agree with that. Thank you for pointing that out, Mayor Pro Tem Syrup, on that one. Thank you. Yeah, and just to answer the caller's comment about the conference room, I understand why you're asking about the conference room. Does it feel efficient? But while we are going through all of this, we do have to continue to build for the future, for the need that the City Hall has to be able to provide to staff and to future councils, and we have to be efficient and sort of acknowledge what's not working, what is working. If it's not going to hit the general fund at this point, I mean, I can see where we're going to move forward with that. So this is just a work session, but I mean, I can understand. You're right. 2B is such an awkward, weird space. I can see how it would, be good for us to rework that space and create something that would actually be useful to staff going forward. So. Thanks for that. I wanted to add, just on the budget line item, if we could bring the slide. Let's see, what slide is it? I think it's the third slide. Just looking at that just for like clarity's sake and for the community. So the total CIP budget is $264 million. And that's obviously more than the general fund, and it's more than the operating enterprise fund, right? Because all of the other funds, I think for FY26 at least, were $213 million. Is that right? And so I just wanted to be clear about how this goes over, and that's because this fund, the CIP fund, is largely, the revenue is largely from fees. Is that right?
They are from enterprises. Enterprises are usually from rates, like water rates and sewer rates, or from grants and other sorts of fundings that have nothing to do with general fund. As you can see here, about 98% of the $264 million are from non-general fund, non-Measure C sources.
Thank you. I just wanted to, make sure we made that clear, because even, as we all get to know the budget, and we all get to understand, what the general fund is versus the enterprise accounts, I think it's really important to point out that this is a lot of money. There's a lot of projects going on, but a lot of this is not. I mean, so our projected transfer is 3.68, right? Okay.
Correct.
And besides that, it's all already funded in the COP. All these projects are already funded in the CIP.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
To the tune of $258 million.
Great. Thank you for making that clear, because it's obviously a lot. And then on La Vista, so I'm so excited we had the groundbreaking. And I wanted to ask, where are we in the ongoing budget for La Vista? Do we project any, general fund transfers or anything like that going forward?
So the project is fully funded. And as I have informed council, we are working on removing a contribution from Measure C to La Vista Park. And that is going to come before you before council break to approve removal of $5.2 million Measure C contribution from that project, because by having done some value engineering and working with the contractor, we don't need to have that contribution. And by the way, this removal has no impact on the quality of the park, the features of the park. It is just how the grading is done, the keyway is constructed.
Thank you. So that's $5.2 million that will go back into Measure C.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. That's really great news.
Yes.
Yeah, and thanks for reworking that, because that'll obviously help in a lot of ways. Thanks. And then on the public safety building, I see, is that the final site that you put on the slide there, or has that not been decided yet?
That's the final site.
That's the final site.
Between the two sites, yes.
Okay.
This is the preferred site.
Okay. But we don't have any designs or anything like that, right? We're just on the site at this point.
We have a preliminary plan right now that
Okay.
just shows what is possible.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
We'll
I
have
know
to
that's
work
like
it
a
out.
more to come later thing.
Exactly.
And then on the STAC Center, what's been done so far is wonderful. And are we now just kind of stalled on the next phases due to funding?
Actually, we received a notification. We were waiting to see if we were going to get an extension on a grant that we received before we moved forward with kind of rescoping, because it's going to take us a little bit to rescope and scale down. And we just received last week notification that we did get the extension, so we have an extra 2.5 years for this library grant. Okay. So we'll be coming back to you soon, sort of with talking what does that mean. It's definitely not the full scope, but what could a phase 2 with some possible future phases look like so that we spend that money.
And then meanwhile, were the tenants that were in the part that has not been renovated, are they still there?
Building? Yeah. No, well, some, but for the most part, no, that the majority of that building was occupied by Cadango, who are now in the MJCC, prior MJCC, they're in that child care center. And then who are still there is we still have the Silva Clinic, Tiburcio Vasquez, the pediatric clinic is still there.
Oh, okay.
And then Eden Youth has a computer clubhouse there as well.
Okay, so there's some, does that mean there's still some revenue coming in from that site on rent?
And yeah, very minimal.
Okay,
Very minimal. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then, all right, I promise I'll hurry everyone. So then on to SkyWest, obviously that's a big, a big point of interest. Wondering, has anything been decided yet on SkyWest, the previous golf course part of the SkyWest?
We are collaborating, working with HARD to see what's possible. We have had some conversations. We are working together to basically accomplish what council and communities wanted, which is to devote a good portion of that property to open space and parks and recreation, trails, and so on. So we are in conversation right now to see what we can bring before council.
Okay, great. So there's more to come on that
Yes.
one. Okay, thanks. I'll look forward to that. And then the last question I have is around the water treatment facility upgrades. Where are we on that project and the funding for all of that?
So we are waiting for funding of WIFIA, which is Water Improvement Infrastructure Act. The federal government has stalled in approving our loan for just over a year right now. We have been very active in talking to different representatives and active groups and so on. And just, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, Senator Padilla mentioned at a congressional hearing that, hey, this loan for Hayward, and he mentioned it with 2 other smaller districts, but Hayward was first, should come through. So everyone is active now in terms of what to do in order to provide more information to Senator Padilla's office to get OMB, Office of Management and Budget, to sign off, and then EPA to sign off. An EPA administrator was there in the hearing and was taking notes and said, sure. I'm going to look into it and get back to you, to Senator Padilla. So that's one positive thing that has happened recently. I can tell you that there are several other activities that we have done, from working with and coordinating with California Association of Sanitation Agencies, writing letters, campaigning, everything. Great. So we are doing all we can to get this going. I have told them that we have plans and specs ready to go. This is a shovel-ready project, and it is going to result in 1,500 local jobs during construction, $100+ million worth of private investment, and also improving the quality of the treatment plan for the next 25 years.
Well, thank you for staying on top of that, right? That's obviously, so that project, do we have a deadline when we have to meet that requirement?
2034.
2034, okay. Thank you for staying on that.
Sounds like a long way away, but we need to start the process soon.
Yeah, well, it sounds like staying on top of all the lobbying efforts are maybe paying off. We'll wait and see.
Mhm.
All right, thank you for taking all my questions.
Thank you.
When we break ground on that, Councilmember Bonilla and I will personally bring Senator Padilla to Hayward
That
to
would be
break ground on
wonderful.
that. I haven't asked him yet, but he's committed. Councilmember Zermeño.
Mayor, thank you, and Alex and Melissa, I think Melissa Mata, yeah, and thank you very much. Very good report. I sure wish we had that $1.3 billion so we can get all of these items off the table and completed. A couple of comments. I still love seeing the fact that you are, we're talking about public, bike, and pedestrian safety. I think that's tremendous. Not forgetting the trees, 1,500 trees every year that need to be planted. Thank you very much for that. Those are amazing. A while back, we were discussing or talking, it was brought up, undergrounding Tennyson below the railroad tracks. Is that dead, or is that anywhere near because it's too expensive? Any thoughts with that?
I will research that and get back to you and council.
It's a what?
I'll look into it and get back to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think maybe about 10 years ago, but I think that will be the best solutions, you know,
Yes.
because it's done in harder, et cetera. So if we can do that one, that'd be much better.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm often asked, we spend money on these capital improvement projects, but especially this year, we have no money. Then I tell them, well, these are enterprise funds. They don't understand that. What else can I tell them about these are not general fund money?
So the source of funding for enterprise funds are either rates that ratepayers like water customers or sewer customers pay, or developers pay for connecting, let's say, to the water system or the recycled water system. Those are funds that are very different from general fund. They do not impact general fund or Measure C. That's a steady source of funding that we receive on an annual basis or when there is development in the city.
Okay, and they are not part of the general fund. They can be spent because they're coming from Measure B, et cetera, or other, et cetera.
Absolutely. Special funds like Measure B or BB or state funds and so on.
Good to hear about the Stack Center. Good to hear about La Vista. Good to hear about bringing back some Measure C funds. Okay, and our public safety building, that area that was encircled is more or less where it's going to go. And you say you have plans? There are actual plans somewhere? Can we?
So it's a
Are they
siting
shareable?
plan. Absolutely. They are siting plan just to show us that it is feasible to have a building that can accommodate all the personnel, all the parking needs, all of the different facilities that now are not located at the police department, like animal control and the lab and so on and so forth. So by doing this plan, it has been proven that for the use of about 10 acres of land, we can accommodate all of those features on one site.
Okay, so we're sure that we can, so we don't need a 2 or 3 story building. It'll be just a 1-story building, perhaps.
No, it would be 2 or 3 story, but it would not be higher than that.
Okay, all right, and I'm sure it'll include a jail.
It has a temporary, holding facility.
All right. So, how far away are we from? Are you from sharing preliminary plans as to what it would look like? Is that too far off into the future?
It's just a siting plan. It doesn't, show facade or features or what have you. But we are going to begin the process of seeing what is feasible in terms of what can allow us to move forward with the funding that might be available to implement the project. There are different ways of doing it. One
Okay.
would be the regular, design, bid, and build process. The other one would be to work with private sector in P3, which is public-private partnership, to do projects. There are examples that have been done in California that have been successful. City manager and myself are looking into those approaches to bring before council to see what is feasible and what is most economical, and also to meet all of the needs of the police department.
So I gather you've been meeting with our captains and with our chief on this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We've been meeting with them on
All
a
right.
regular basis now for a long time.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I just add on that? I think the key for this, because of where we are fiscally, is to try to think about how we can take some initial steps using the funding that we have, or using money that that trying to find a way to kind of make some incremental progress in the Public Safety Center. The next logical step, well, there's two. One is to get the land use entitlements, because if we move forward with the Kang site, it is in the overlay zone for the FAA, so we could start to make some progress on some of the entitlement and land use changes and approvals that we would need to seek, and those take 12 to 18 months. So those are things we can do now until we can figure out what our longer term funding plan is.
Okay.
So we're going to try to find ways to do that. It still may take some funding, and we're talking about how that we might be able to move that forward. The other thing is to whether or not there is a private partnership that we could use and leverage that might allow us during that phase to leverage some outside private funding or staff capacity that they have, that might allow us to do it a little more efficiently and move the project forward more quickly. So we're trying to find ways, because we don't have the money to build it right now. So trying to think of ways to expedite it, so when we do have the money available, we're ready to go.
Very good. Okay, it is going to be on airport land, so can any of the airport enterprise funds be used for the building?
No.
It is on
Enterprise
airport
funds,
land.
yes, cannot pay for construction of facilities that are not used by the airport.
But if there's a problem, the police will go over and solve it, correct?
To the extent that there are those kinds of services, yes, some accommodations can be made, but that would be a small portion of the,
Okay.
total cost of that
Got it.
construction.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And just a couple of thoughts on the sky. So thank you on the airport, and on the public safety building. That's tremendous. I'm glad that we're going ahead with this. SkyWest. We have we've already lost 2 community centers in the city of Hayward. One was over by Foothill. The other one was our old library, which I kept insisting that we ought to have it, save it as a community center. So now we have a golf course clubhouse at SkyWest Golf. And in my mind, we ought to work on having a Hayward Community Center there. Can we rent it out, make some money with it? And simply because we don't have a Hayward Community Center. Most cities do. So that may be something that you can put on your to-do list, look into it, how feasible it is. I don't think that it's in the way of airplanes, so it's off to the left. I think it'd be a tremendous addition to our city. So please look into that.
Understood, thank you.
All right, and I think those are all my questions. I thank you. I thank you both for a good job, and let's look for some more money, and let's
Thank you.
build these things.
Yes.
Thanks.
Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you for the report. I always appreciate your CIP staff reports and the demonstrations, so thank you for doing that. I had a question about the Stack Center and wanted to know if there have been any conversations of possibly partnering with HARD on that as well.
Yeah, so what we now that we have this news that we have a feasible phase 2, we are intending to reapproach them and have a discussion about the sort of open space there, the non-building space, and if they're interested in engaging in any way with that project.
Okay, what about the building space as well? For recreation and whatever, managing of buildings and offices?
We can
that?
bring it up and see. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
All right. And then had a question about the fiber optic and wanted to know if I heard fiber optic is being part of installing with our buildings, connecting our buildings, and wanted to see if we were partnering with any businesses on doing any of that fiber optic.
So I would say over the past 5 years, there has been a tremendous increase in installation of live fiber optic in the city. One of the challenges that we have is working with all these different companies that want to install fiber optic. We want to ensure that they are not going to damage any of the underground facilities. Timing is different now than it was 10 years ago when we had to go ahead, the city had to go ahead and install, if you recall, dark fiber, hoping that companies would come and want to use it. Right now, companies like AT&T and others, Verizon and others, are very, very active. Part of what keeps all of our inspectors busy right now is just inspecting all these different installations to make sure that they are done properly.
Okay, all right. And then wanted to know more about the 238 partnership with Caltrans, just anything you're able to give an update on.
Yes, we met with Caltrans last week, actually, to just talk about where we are and how we might want to move forward. I think the real challenge with that program right now is the real estate market is extremely stalled, not just commercial, but residential too. So I don't know if the city council remembers, but we had kind of agreed to this kind of base price that we would sell the properties to. Caltrans would get a base price and the city would get excess of that. I think given where we are in the real estate market, we're concerned about whether or not we'd even meet those base prices based on the appraisals that were done previously, let alone get excess revenue. And there's no kind of end in sight in terms of the real estate market, at least for probably another 24 months. So I think and we have carrying costs, probably around $300,000 a year in carrying costs for those properties. So we were talking to them about how we might rework that framework. You know, should we be looking at potentially just selling them according to a certain process and then figuring out some way to kind of get them off the city's books, and because they are in some cases holding property like that creates liability, and so we're exploring different ways forward. But every property is a little different, so you have to be a little careful. Like there are some properties that actually have existing households that own private parcels within the property or adjacent to the property, dependent on the infrastructure on the property we own, and others have tenants that are still on them. So we're trying to figure out a way to move those properties so that they don't remain a burden to the city, and trying to work in partnership with Caltrans. And they were open to having those conversations.
Okay, and anything we can do to support in those conversations, I would love to support you.
I mentioned that to them.
Okay,
That
me
I was
specifically?
hoping they would help us at the staff level.
Okay, great.
So that we could, But so if that doesn't work or there are issues, we'll be sure to engage all of you.
Okay, great. I think those are all my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks for this report. I love the format. It gets better and better every time. I remember when we were on the Planning Commission and we got this in a paper binder back in the day, so to see it so digitized and so easy to go through, I really appreciate. I also appreciate, how we're thinking creatively about partnerships to help us move some of these programs forward, even though we're facing kind of some of our own funding issues, like you explained sort of the police department, but then there's other projects that you see are kind of a culmination of different funds that we're bringing together. So I just really appreciate that creativity in moving these projects forward. I also support, where it makes sense, moving funds back into the general fund for transparency's sake. I think having things consolidated in one place just makes it so much easier than trying to figure out, where is it and why is it here versus there, when it should, I think, just be all consolidated in the general fund under the relevant operating funds or budgets. And then I get the point I totally get the point around the conference room, right? And I understand enterprise funds versus general funds and all of those nuances. But I think to the general public, I don't know if they really care. It's their money, right? So if we're putting out our money because we're paying rates that are increasing, that we've recently increased, that we all had heartburn about, but we know we had to increase, or if we're paying a general tax, it's just more of a burden on the average person in Hayward who's having to come out of pocket for whatever it is. So I know that the conference room, and it's not just a conference room, it's bigger than a conference room. We're remodeling a space that needs to be remodeled, and we're using funds outside of the general fund to do it. I get it, and I support it, but just, making sure that the narrative isn't only it's coming out of the enterprise fund, because the enterprise fund is still funded through the people of Hayward, just through a different way of, them having to fund it. And then as it relates to the Stack Center, which is the project that I'm, really excited about, when we look at the funding for that in the CIP for 27, it says 8.7 million is proposed. Is that 8.7 million funded through Measure C or somewhere, or is that?
No, at this point, we're fully, both the funding for 27 and 28 will be fully covered by this library grant and the county's prior commitment. So.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So yeah, we're trying, it is fantastic. It's less than we originally had planned for, and so we're having to scale it down, which is just, that's going to take a little while for us to figure out how to do that, and we'll come back with you with plans. But yes,
I see.
That's what those, yeah, the library grant was a large sum of money, so we're grateful they extended it.
Yep. And then I guess, as the general fund rebuilds, then there could be opportunities to kind of continue maybe moving forward some of those initial ideas. But I do like the idea of us figuring out what can we do now to not hold up the entire project until we get sort of the bigger, grander, community center, but how do we get something in that community, ASAP? And I think that this is one of the smartest ways of being able to do that, considering all of the other constraints that we're under. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you for this great presentation.
Thank you. Councilmember Goldstein.
Thank you. Yeah, I too remember receiving these in printed paper format, and they were quite large. And really just the thrill of seeing it online. The transparency factor is fantastic. I mean, my constituents come and ask, business owners come and ask, where are we spending our money? What kind of improvements are we doing? We can look it up and actually show them and take them to that page. And it's very, very useful to, build that collaboration that we really rely on to continue to make improvements and progress throughout the city. So thank you for doing that. One of the things that I had taken delight in tracking was the solar farm. And I understand that we built out about 3 megawatts of solar capacity so far. Are we continuing to build out solar capacity, or what's the story there?
Correct. We have a solar farm at the Water Resource Recovery. The problem I have is that I don't have use now for additional solar power. As soon as our project at the plant is under construction and we have that needs, we have plans to expand the solar farm to produce more clean energy.
Okay, great. Yeah, I sort of thought that might be the case. And do we have, we still have lands available, because I understand that we used a portion of the land that we have there at the water treatment facility. We have more land and other locations that we could continue to build out?
Correct. Adjacent to where the solar PV is right now, there is land that is dedicated for that purpose, has been earmarked for that purpose.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. Honestly, I don't really have a whole lot more questions. My colleagues have really nailed it tonight. So again, I just want to express my deepest gratitude for the great work that you and your team do and the transparency that this brings to our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out just a couple of things. One being, our focus on safety. I know that we have been putting a lot of emphasis in making streets safer, protected bike lanes, and making them safe for drivers, pedestrians, and bicyclists. And I appreciate that. In addition, I just wanted to point out that we are making great strides in railroad protection and railroad safety. And I know ACTC has been, the Alameda County Transportation Commission, they have been very active both in Sacramento and in Washington, D.C. in advocating for more and more money, quite frankly, to enhance railroads. One of the things about the railroad here in the city is that the railroad slices right through, of course, from the top of the city to the bottom of the city, or from the northern to the most southern part of the city. But it also goes through, it cuts through elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, apartments, low-income neighborhoods, and where there's a lot of walkers, a lot of strollers, a lot of elderly, and the environments that in some of these train ways, pathways, they're unprotected and they're old. The infrastructure is just old. So the railroad crossings, most importantly, are being enhanced, and so I just wanted to acknowledge that. The other one is the East Bay Greenway project, of course, that is slated. It is getting developed. And that is the road, sidewalk, and protected bike lane enhancements, particularly bike lanes and sidewalks that will go from the northern part of the city to the southern part of the city, or at least until South Hayward Board, I should say. And so that is a project that I think is really good. I know on ACTC, we've been talking about, finding more funds to extend that and to just continue with the protection on that. So just wanted to acknowledge my colleagues and all of their work. I know, bless you, I know that the Caltrans properties over the years have been, we walked into these properties, bright-eyed and looking towards the future, and but it's also been a very hard project over the years, and the pandemic did not help us at all. And so, but we continue to work on that. So, anyways, I just wanted to thank staff. Director Mary, do you need anything else from us?
No, thank you. Thank you for your leadership and your direction. And we will continue to work on the CIP and bring it to a public hearing in early June.
And then, Madam City Manager, is there anything else you need from us?
No, this is really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So I will close this item, and I will move on to the public hearing, item number 9, which is the PH 26-021 Community Development Block Grant, approval of fiscal year 2026 through 2027 Community Development Block Grant allocation recommendations and annual action plan. And this report will come to us by way of our Assistant City Manager, Mary Thomas. Mary Thomas.
Yes, and I'm going to immediately hand it over to Emily Wong, who is a management analyst in community services and has been amazing at stepping up since Amy Colbloom departed for the county and has been helping. So there you go.
Thank you, Mary. All right, let's get settled in here. Okay, great. Hi. Good evening, Council. My name is Emily Huang. As Mary mentioned, I'm a management analyst and the new CSC Community Services Commission staff liaison. I'm here to present the fiscal year 2026-2027 Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, funding allocations, and staff is seeking your approval of both the CDBG allocations and the annual action plan, which outlines how CDBG funds will be used for this upcoming fiscal year. So you all should have received an email from Assistant City Manager Mary Thomas asking you to disclose any specific conflict of interest that you may have with any of the agencies associated with the recommendations, which is included in attachment 2 of this item. If you do have any conflict of interest, now would be the time to disclose them. All right. It looks like we have no conflicts of interest, no conflicts or interests. So thank you for that. Before we dive into the details, staff wanted to provide council with an overview of this year's timeline that looks different than previous community funding process years. In September 2025, the city published the Notice of Funding Availability, or NOFA, that was intended to allocate funding for fiscal years 26 through 28. And unfortunately, due to fiscal constraints, in October 2025, the city had to cancel its NOFA, and most general fund supported CAF contracts were terminated after their initial 50% payment. In January 2026, the CSC discussed this new occurrence and discussed the impacts that this would have on agencies. Given budget challenges, the city did decide to not allocate general fund dollars to fiscal year 26-27 and to prioritize CDBG funds for one-time internal projects. During these conversations, the CSC expressed preference against using CDBG funding for ongoing operational costs like additional staff costs or year-to-year supplies costs. And that is ultimately to ensure that the CAF process will be available in future years. In March 2026, staff presented funding recommendations that took the CSC's feedback into consideration, as well as considering previous year's priorities. And in April, the CSC finalized and voted on these recommendations to present to you today at City Council. So while we're here at the public hearing, and council would be primarily approving the CDBG allocations and the annual action plan today, the CSC has also been having these ongoing conversations about its role and looking to council for additional guidance, which I will go into further detail in a later slide. So now that we've provided an overview of these past few months, I'm going to shift us over to the CDBG annual action plan for fiscal year 26-27. The annual action plan does provide a framework for identifying housing and community development needs, and these priority needs for this upcoming fiscal year include facility and infrastructure access and capacity, preserving existing home ownership housing, and providing supportive services for special needs and low to moderate income households. A draft annual action plan was published to the city's webpage on April 17th, and public comment period for community feedback was announced at the April CSC meeting. Later in this presentation, I will provide more details on how to submit a public comment on the annual action plan and the CDBG recommendations that I will present in the next slide. So last month, the city received its entitlement award from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. We also call them HUD. This came in around $1.5 million. This table provides a summary of the CDBG recommended amounts by category and project. Staff identified one-time CDBG eligible projects that could fund internal services while incorporating the commissioner's feedback to avoid ongoing costs, such as additional staff time or repeated one-time costs that are expected year to year. These recommended projects include HUD-mandated activities, such as the fair housing activities, projects that the city has already committed to funding, such as the housing programs that we have included in our housing element plan, and anticipated city projects that meet CDBG eligible requirements and can be completed within a reasonable time frame. We have to, in order to be allowed and offered, eligible for funding federally, we do have to make sure we're spending down our funds in a timely manner. So we're happy to answer any specific questions about these recommendations, but for the sake of time, we will keep on moving forward. The CSC's role has significantly shifted while the CAF process is on pause, and now they are looking to council for direction on next steps. In the recent months, the commission has discussed moving toward a more advisory role, focusing on community needs and strategic planning. And while they're also, in the future, hoping to prepare for future grant making when the city's financial situation improves. One opportunity that there is for their is to be involved to develop and conduct a community needs assessment along with staff. The last one was done in 2018, and updating it would help the city better understand current needs and make more informed decisions, not just for the CAF process, but also for all city programs and services. The CSC also discussed providing technical assistance to nonprofit agencies, sharing their expertise in grant writing, looking for external funding sources, and other needs expressed by our agencies. So to conclude this presentation, staff recommends that City Council approves the authorization of the CDBG fiscal year 26-27 annual action plan submission and the CDBG funding allocations. The public can provide a public comment on the annual action plan to emily.huang@hayward-ca.gov. Any public comments will be incorporated into the annual action plan before we submit it to the county on June 2nd. And I also wanted to call out that we do have a few CSC members and representatives here online and in person that will be here to provide public comment on their insights of the process. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start up here first. Mayor Pro Tem Syrup.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for this report and for supporting the CSC, and to our commissioners for bearing with us as we try to figure out how to find our footing after CAF funding was eliminated for the year. I think my main question is just around eligibility for projects. When I saw that the housing rehabilitation program of around $350,000 was on here, I think it's a great program, but I'm always thinking about, are we getting the most bang for buck? And about a year ago, maybe September, half a year ago, we were discussing how we might fund something like a rental registry. And the cost of that would have been lower than what we're proposing here to rehabilitate. I'm not sure how many houses $350,000 might cover. So I guess I'm just curious, I know there's not a ton of overlap necessarily between community services and development services, but just trying to understand, would something like a rental registry qualify for the ways in which we're trying to use CDBG funding now, or would that not be an eligible project? Why or why not?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that we looked into. So there's there's different categories that CDBG has. So there's housing programs. There's also public service programs. Those are the two that we could see as a connection there. However, housing programs are restricted to rehab, home development, and down payment assistance.
Got it.
And then we can look into the eligibility in the public services category, but one caveat is that the service would have to be a direct service that's being provided to the community, which it sounds like there could be maybe an opportunity there.
Okay, so TBD on the public service side of things.
Yeah, we'd have to vet that with our consultant.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and just trying to understand opportunities for council initiatives or priorities to make its way into those conversations too. It felt like a missed opportunity for the commission to not consider that as a potential outlet for those funds.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think I'm in alignment with what the staff is recommending and what our commissioners are putting forward. I'm eager to hear what their comments are, and then I'll share my comments afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you for the report. Wanted to get more insight into the fire equipment purchases for stations located in low to moderate income areas. Is that based off of the grant requirements of why that is going to the fire department?
Yes, so it is an eligible project. It would be in specifically an area that is low to moderate income, predominantly low to moderate income. We did several explorative activities to see what this funding could potentially be utilized for, like looking at improvements to La Vista Park or doing ADA upgrades in City Hall. However, there are constraints limited to the city's ability to deploy CDBG funds because of federal requirements like Build America, Buy America. If we even put $1 of federal dollars into any of these activities, we'd have to follow that, and it would significantly increase costs to the project. While none were identified at this time, we will continue to have conversations about potential projects.
And will these purchases, will they have like upgrade costs, like year over year, replacement costs, or just new equipment?
I mean, our fire chief is here, but those would be standard to any other equipment. It's not. It's really to help us make sure that we're able to keep most modern equipment, but not adding additional maintenance costs.
And there was no training, additional training for staff for this equipment, or no? Okay.
No.
And no extra staffing.
Yeah, existing, like we have a couple of engines that we need to get, like the various health cardiac monitors, different things on the engines. I don't know if you wanted to have Chief Cameron come up, or is that good enough?
That's good. I just wanted to make sure that
no additional training.
Because sometimes equipment can drive ongoing costs. So I just wanted to make sure this was
we're just wanting to ensure that we have up-to-date equipment that hasn't reached its useful life in these neighborhoods.
Okay, great. And then was also curious, are there any metrics of success for these programs?
Yes, so as we go into contracting specifically with agencies, they do have to meet objectives. So not only they create their own objectives specific to the program. Some of it, like for example, Habitat for Humanity, we've worked with them continuously each year. They do have to increase their objectives that they say that they're going to meet. So it's not like the same year to year. In addition to that, they do have to submit data that shows that they meet the requirements of CDBG, like serving individuals who are low to moderate income.
Okay. And then also wanted to know about Eden Information and Referral System. I know years ago we did a referral on 311, and we also are looking at 988, and just wanted to see the efficacy of 211. And I don't know if this is something that can be brought to the Public Safety Committee or infrastructure, but I would like it at the full council at some point, a presentation or just like a quick update on what's happening with 211, because when I'm looking at the police blotter and seeing weekly calls of service about 5,000, and then you see about 1,000 of those calls get calls for service. I'm just wondering if there's something, like people are still dialing the 911 system instead of other resources, and I'm seeing the number of crimes that are committed are low in comparison to the calls. So I would like to digest that a little bit more, and maybe this is something in the Public Safety Committee they can flesh out what a report would look like to the full council. But if we're giving them funding, I want to see some of that connection being made where it can reduce, like this 50,000 should be an investment of reducing calls of service on our public safety. Just in case, people are calling and not understanding that there is another resource. And I am seeing other cities across the region, across the country using 311, and we are continuing to reject that idea. But if we're going to give 50,000 to 211, I want to know what we're getting for it.
Yeah, I think this is, I've only recently had the opportunity to start working with the Community Services Division, but that's something I have a question about too, and I think this coming year, I'll be definitely asking some questions, and the Community Services Commissioners had, some questions too about how we make sure there's enough information available to So maybe there's some discussion about doing an evaluation, particularly of that system.
Yes, that can be something that the commissioners can dig into, and also if they want to look into Access Hayward as well, because maybe they should be some of the test drivers of Access Hayward to reduce calls to 211 or something where we can reduce those weekly calls of service. That'd be great. And then what are we, so with some of these grant allocations, particularly with the Hayward Navigation Center, I'm just wondering, what are the metrics of success for that? I know that you have that identified in the contracts, but as we're seeing surrounding cities look at encampments, they're starting to close encampments. You know, cities surrounding those cities are being impacted. Other states are going to be impacted. What is our measurement when we know that this news is coming regarding local encampments being closed? How, like, is this 184 going to help address it, I guess?
Yeah, I can give a statistic. So one of the metrics that we have is that 83% of all exits from the agency were to positive housing destinations, and that's near and above than the national average. So that is just one example of a metric. If you wanted more specifics, I can always go to the contract and ask our staff.
So you have a percentage identified in your contract?
Yes,
Okay.
we have multiple, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Semenyo.
Mayor, thank you, and Emily, thank you very much. Mary, also you. I just, could you go back to the next slide, last slide? I have a question about something there. There, no.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, next one.
This one?
Yes. What does technical assistance to nonprofit agencies mean? That's really my only question.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm sure the commissioners can go into more detail in their public comment. There are a few things. So, you know, grant writing support, maybe doing a webinar to agencies and having that being publicly available to all Hayward agencies. Other ones is one other thing that council has provided direction on is having agencies or having the commissioners provide support on seeking external funding sources. So those type of activities. We were having these ongoing conversations. We have another CSC meeting in June to talk through the details, but we want to make sure that it is public enough that CSC members aren't getting too far into the weeds of an agency's operations that would make them have a potential conflict of interest in grant making in future years, but also supportive enough to being able to provide that assistance to agencies in this time where we, can't offer them monetary support, but also could support them in other ways.
Gonna help them to be a little more sustainable, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to public comment. And our first, I didn't see your name on the.
Thank you. I realized I got confused because on the slide you have the BACS allocation as 50,000 and the 211 is 184. So I realized. But thank you. I think Councilmember Andrews was able to ask that question, so I'm going to skip it anyway. Thank you. I don't know which it's 184. We're supposed to go to BACS, right? And 50.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I keep going back and forth. I'm like, I think I'm missing something. Okay. I just wanted to ask about the timing. So these projects, right? Do they have to use these funds within a certain period of time, or HUD calls this money back? Is that what happens?
Yeah, we'd like to spend down these funds by the end of next fiscal year, so June 30th, 2027.
Okay, great. And then on the fire equipment, I know Councilmember Andrews already asked, but so you said it's not it's not like one truck or something. It's equipment that's going to go on different trucks or engines. I don't know what the right term is. Is that right? Correct. Okay. Okay, thanks. And then I wanted to ask also, as far as that last slide that Councilmember Zermani asked about, I always thought, one thing when I was on CSC that I always wish I could have done was, not that, staff would obviously have to help, but this idea of sort of auditing how all these funds are being used. So I think we always, I know when I was on, I'm sure you guys have that, this sort of struggle of, do we spread all this money out like a big peanut butter spread and give everybody a little bit to try to leverage that money? Or do we be really targeted because we know X agency is so good at serving X amount of Hayward community members? And I feel like we never really got to that work. Like we're just constantly, we get the applications, it looks like a good program, and we're gonna fund it. But I think we've talked about this in the past, like, who is really doing work that, like, person for person is really making a big difference? And I don't know, getting people housing, making sure like they're using the funds so efficiently to feed people, whatever that is. I don't know if that's possible, and maybe that would be more staff time, but I would love it if the Community Services Commission would be interested in finding a way so that when we get back to funding, and I'm glad to hear what you've decided to do with the missing funds with the funds we couldn't allocate, that we're going to hold that space so when we do have funds, we'll get back to it, because I want to get back to that agency funding as soon as possible. But that when we do, we're being that the Community Services Commission is so aware of how they want to really target what's really working. I don't know if that's something that staff would work with, and if, obviously this is going to be up to the commission to take on, but that's just a comment, I guess, about moving forward, because I'd wished we'd, had time to do it, but we didn't. You were just off to the races every cycle, like get that funding out and get those applications. But so.
Yeah, I will say in the last year, the Services Committee did a lot of work to consider priority. So I believe their top priorities was housing, food, and services that support individuals that are supporting immigrants. So it is this ongoing conversation about where can this commission direct funds to the most impact and the most need. And that is something that we can consider maybe exploring in the needs assessment.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize for missing you, but I didn't see your name on the thing here. But okay, so I'm going to move on to public comment. Public comment number one is Calvin Wong, who is a CSC commissioner.
Is this on? Okay. Hey, thank you. Hello, everyone. Calvin Wong, and I'm here in my capacity as an individual community services commissioner. And so I'd like to address two things in my comment tonight. The first is that I was the only CSC member who voted no on these recommendations, and that is because of my belief that these recommendations before you did not deserve the consent of the CSC, which is a body charged by the Hayward City Council to solicit input from the community and service providers to help inform community agency funding decisions. And I believe that these recommendations before you, albeit they are the product of considerable staff time and effort, that there was minimal to no input from members of the CSC. I believe that these recommendations before you can be traced back to the city staff's really sudden decision to cancel the CAP funding cycle, a decision that I believed is marked by its opacity, and that it really caught myself and many service providers by surprise. And in my conversations with service providers after this declaration was made that the funding cycle was canceled, I learned that there was a general understanding that there were going to be changes to this funding cycle because of the city's budget situation, but none of them, and even myself, expected to not have been able to even comment on this decision before this decision was even made. And I think that our service providers are perhaps too good of partners to say it, but frankly, I thought it was kind of disrespectful to have just suddenly made that decision without allowing any of their input. So just on that, because of these recommendations are the result of a process that I believe denied our service providers a voice and have been deprived of the usual rigorous analysis provided by members of the CSC, I, at least personally, could not in good conscience support these recommendations. And then secondly, I also want to ask that the City Council not cancel the next CAF funding cycle. My fear is that by canceling another funding cycle, the city is pushing itself toward or contributing toward the hollowing out of its own authority or capacity to be able to solve our community's most difficult problems. And so as our community service providers have to scale down services or even abandon operations in Hayward because of a lack of funding, that makes the city vulnerable to the entry of for-profit organizations who will operate with very minimal oversight. And that's not really an exaggeration, because we do see examples of that all across the country, in fact. And I'm just worried that where the government abdicates its authority over these sorts of decisions, that these private forces will come in to profit off of human suffering. And so I really hope that the city does not try to balance the budget off the backs of our most needy residents. So that's the second thing. And then I guess I'll just talk briefly on an idea that I would like the city council to
Mr. Wong,
consider.
although we did not determine a time, and I know we gave you 3 minutes for public comment, I'll give you another minute if you can just sort of wrap it up. And
yeah, this part's really short. I just added this on. It's an idea that I would like the city council to consider just for the CSC, where we just had that discussion. I think that commissioners should be given an opportunity to be involved in the auditing of agencies, especially since we were just talking about metrics. I think that commissioners should have some role in being involved in seeing how agencies are really meeting those metrics, especially as that does influence how we think about funding recommendations. And I personally don't think that we should be that afraid of getting that deep into the weeds. I'm sure that, yes, maybe if you get too deep into the weeds, that maybe you don't want people making decisions with regards to those agencies. But I do think there are enough commissioners to the point where we can still fully staff like our individual commission arcs to be able to make these decisions while allowing other commissioners to be able to be more deeper involved in those agencies. Thank you.
thank you. And thank you for your service on the commission. Our next speaker is Jesse Gunn.
Hello, good evening, City Council. My name is Jesse Gunn. I'm the Vice Chair for the Community Services Commission, speaking on behalf of myself tonight. I first want to acknowledge City Council and staff for doing a phenomenal job at a task that none of you asked to do, which was to balance a surprise deficit that I'm sure none of you anticipated. And also with the exceptional partnership of the stakeholders who ultimately will be carrying the burden of these cuts. While this year's CSC allocations are not what any of us had hoped to see, I am hopeful that we can continue to identify holes in the support network that are arising from these cuts. So I'm very excited about the idea of doing a community needs assessment if that is available. I also want to consider that this is in the context of broader cuts that are happening at the state level, at the regional level, and largely in part of federal decisions happening. To get into the granular details, I do want to talk about the fire equipment purchase. I think it's a great use of the funds for this time around, but I would like it to not be a placeholder for equipment purchases of certain kinds. I don't want this to be an ongoing, how do we buy this? Oh, use CDBG funds for it. I would love to get us back to the point where we can start honoring and supporting our service providers with the vital services that they are doing. I also want to acknowledge that the opportunity costs of meeting this challenge may never fully be measured. We won't know when a senior misses a meal. We won't know when a youth doesn't get the med tour that they're looking for or attend the art exhibit that will make them change the world. And our residents need this, and I know that my fellow commissioners would agree. They're quite passionate about continuing this work. Also wanted to thank our council member, our liaison Bonilla, for his idea on looking at other neighboring agencies to see what is happening in other community services related commissions and bodies. Several interesting ideas have come about, and I hope we have a chance to actually pursue those. And then thank you, Councilmember Roach, for your idea as well as how we can look at the way we fund in the first place. Maybe we have ways that we can kind of change things now that we have a little bit of time to ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your service on the CSC. Okay, I want to come back and up here, and let me start with the council liaison to the CSC. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, I apologize. So let me... hold on. Rita. Or Lanita. Oh, Lanita, there you are, Lanita Wheeler. The chair, there you go, I apologize. Madam Chair, go right ahead.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Lanita Wheeler, Chair of the Community Service Commission. And I want to begin by acknowledging the city's serious budget challenges, including tens of millions of dollars in annual shortfall. We recognize the difficulty of these recent decisions. And I want to share how this year's CDBG Community Action Fund process landed with the CSC. The CSC exists to help steward CDBG funds. They're a transparent, participatory process that uplifts nonprofits serving low-income Hayward residents. And this year, after the bidders conference was scheduled, we'd learned the competitive process would be canceled due to the budget shortfall, and funds would instead be redirected through existing city funding commitments and infrastructure priorities. We certainly understand the urgency, and still, the way this unfolded left many commissioners feeling sidelined from a process central to the CSC's role. There was disappointment, there was also hurt, because members care deeply about the community voice in public funding decisions. So our hearts are with the nonprofits who were preparing to apply, organizations already stretched thin and doing essential work for our vulnerable residents. We respect the city staff and the CDBG expertise that informed the final recommendation. However, the CSC had limited opportunity to meaningfully engage in the allocation decisions themselves, raising questions about our role moving forward. This year also follows changes to the CSC structure, to the bylaws, to our size. And with the suspension of the funding process for potentially several years, there's uncertainty about whether the CSC remains a funding recommendation body or shifts into a more advisory role. Within the commission, there's mixed feelings, a strong need for clearer guidance from council on expectations, on our scope, and future direction. We remain committed to the city and serving its residents, and we're certainly not in opposition. We are in partnership, and we also recognize and hold space for the city staff and the council in these very challenging times. Because of that shared commitment, this process this year felt especially difficult, and it did not always feel like we were functioning as true partners. So tonight we're asking for clarity and connection so we can understand how to move forward together in a way that honors both the fiscal constraints and community voice. We hope the city will preserve meaningful community participation in future CDBG decisions because that participation is what gives this process its strength. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize. I was gonna, if you have anything else to say, I will extend another 30 seconds or a minute for you if you have any other comments.
Oh, that's so very kind of you. I believe the commissioners that are there in the room, along with the presentation and myself, I've pretty much covered how this just was just a very unique and different year for the CSC. And we're very much looking forward to you all in giving us some additional guidance, particularly in light of the recent changes that took place last year with giving us new guidance on our direction. And so we're just really looking for that partnership and knowing how to move forward appropriately.
Wonderful, thank you. And again, thank you for your service on the commission. And I don't wish anyone your job to wrangle with the CSC any day of the week.
Thank you all. It's a pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much. I will now come back to the dais, and I will go to the designee to the CSC, Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to start by first just thanking the CSC, the folks that came out tonight, the chair who spoke, and just the entire commission for your flexibility in rolling with us this year. I know that this has not been easy. There's been a lot of sharp turns that have been made. There's been decisions that no one's been wanting to make, but they've had to been made because of the physical reality of all of the constraints that we're balancing. I think that, I'm not going to really justify why the decisions were made in the manner that they were made, because I think the feedback and making sure that we're more collaborative and transparent in how these decisions are made going forward is good feedback. But I also understand that the constraint isn't just around the funding, it's also around how we use staff time. And I think that part of the decision around making these allocations was because we don't necessarily have the staff time to go and do a full funding process on such a small set of funding that we already know is constrained by federal guidelines and other requirements. And I was also in the CSC meeting when this was presented, and I think that the community was noticed that we were having this discussion. I think that the Community Services Commission had an opportunity to provide input. I think they did. I think the input was shared again tonight. But I do think that the process was different than the process that we've been through before. So I can understand why it feels not maybe as rewarding as it has in the past to do these more extensive evaluations, to bring the voice of the community, to have these deliberations, and to, what can be perceived as being more thoughtful in the decisions. But I think we can all recognize that there was a lot of thought that was put into these decisions, and that we're all committed to finding a way of revitalizing the CAF process as soon as possible, because we know how important that funding is to our agencies and to our community and to the people in the community who rely on those services to be provided by those agencies. So I'm in full agreement with the CSC's recommendation to make sure that none of these expenses that are being used to cover internal costs that are directly providing the services that are aligned with the grant requirements. So I also don't want to make it seem as if the city is reallocating money to keep lights on at City Hall. The money has been reallocated in a very intentional way to make sure that services that are core to the community are still able to be provided through trusted providers who we know that we can rely on to provide these services in a way that meets the grant requirements of both the results we're looking for and the timeliness requirements as well. But I do agree that we should not be using any of this for anything more than a one-time project, and we should probably have a requirement that says we're not going to consider a project twice for this funding, just to really make sure that we're committed to not funding projects year over year that should not be funded by this as an ongoing source of funding. So I've spent a lot of time thinking through, what does the next iteration of the Community Services Commission looks like, and how do we put these very talented group of community members, in a position to make the broadest impact in the most deeply needy parts of our community. So, auditing, although I understand why, I don't think it's the best use of the commission's time. I think it's better if the commission wants to understand how agencies are performing, to make sure that we're setting clear performance requirements and to make sure that we're setting clear metrics. We don't need to go in there with a checklist and start turning over things. What we do is we said very clearly in the beginning, in order for you to be successful in this grant, these are the metrics we're looking for. This is when we want them reported. You can come to us and you can talk to us and present on a biannual basis the status of the program and the services that you're providing, and I think that that's a good use of time. But I think oversight is different than auditing, and I would like to see the Community Services Commission in a role of understanding the viability of these agencies and their ability to perform as a basis to make future funding decisions. I don't think we should be making any funding decisions if we're not sure if an agency could perform or if we don't have historical data that can support that agency's performance. So when I was thinking about, okay, so that's that. Now, when I thought about kind of this ongoing discussion of what the CSC should be and what 2.0 looks like. So when the CSC first came together, and I was on it, it was the combination of the Citizens Advisory Commission and the Human Services Commission. And those were the names of the two commissions that came together. I remember we looked at the mission and kind of the direction of both of those, and we tried bringing together a commission that can serve both of those purposes. I personally think over time that the commission has started to become, for whatever reason, probably through the direction of council too, the commission has become really focused, almost solely focused on funding. And I think that there might be an opportunity to introduce that sort of community and human services aspect to how it is these commissioners can help us move forward in the city by helping us think through how we address some of the social and human service needs and how we strengthen the networks of safety net organizations that support our residents. So how do we make sure that that is reflected in the mission and in the work plan of the Community Services Commission? I think aligns perfectly with the intent of why those two commissions were brought together in service to the community and in particular our most vulnerable residents. So when I think about kind of putting the human services and the community back into the Community Services Commission, I do think that a city's community needs assessment aligns perfectly with the work that the CSC could be doing. In order for us to make decisions and make sure that we're serving the community, we have to have a deep understanding of what the community needs are and who it is in the community we need to serve, and then we start connecting those needs to service providers to make sure that we're addressing the root cause of issues like you guys are suggesting, and not Band-Aid approaches that are solving things once but not really solving the deeper issue that's systemic. So I like that approach because I think it brings, this kind of community orientation back to the work of the Community Services Commission. But then when I started to kind of think about even the funding, that we're looking at today, some of this funding is for housing and stuff, right? So then I'm thinking, we have housing and homelessness strategic plans that require community input, right? So we have like the Let's House Hayward strategic plan. Maybe this could be the commission that provides community input to that plan, that, when we have to do a, whatever biannual review or review it every 3 years, maybe this commission also, because that is a need of some of our most vulnerable parts of our community. So I do like the idea of saying, how do we transition the commission not just from a funding capacity, but also to an advisory capacity? Because I don't think it's one or the other, because I don't want them to lose the important work that they do around grant making. But then I also think that in this moment, we have an opportunity to really build a stronger advisory capacity for the council and for the city, so that when we are in a position of being able to, reignite some of these programs, that we're doing so in a way that's driven through the voices of our community and through the commissioners who I think are very well suited to look at both the community and the human service issues across our city. So as Commissioner Gunn had said, and I had talked to the city manager about this, in the city of Alameda, they have a social service human relations board that assesses community social needs. They report their finding to city council, and they encourage the development of kind of partnerships to create unmet needs within the city. So, to really kind of look at models like that, to stay true to how it is we're being responsive to the community, but also how we're looking at kind of those social safety net and those human service issues that then I think bring together the real purpose of this Community Services Commission being that advisory board, which kind of the CSC was, because it was the Citizens Advisory Commission, and that human relations work, along with the funding that's needed to really drive that in a sustainable way. So I appreciate these type of innovative approaches, and I think that they do demonstrate meaningful ways that the Community Services Commission could continue to serve and support the needs of our community. So that's kind of the direction that I would give, but I'm really interested to hear what my colleagues have to say in terms of the future direction of this. And thank you guys so much for the work that you put in here and for being out here tonight and for really sharing, your voices within this process, and, for us to take that in to say, how do we do better to make sure that as we go forward, we're doing so in the most inclusive way that's informed by the CSC. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Syrup.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the report. And yeah, thank you to all of our community service commissioners. Thank you, Chair Wheeler, Commissioner Wong, Commissioner Gunn. I really appreciate your honest and candid feedback. I think that's what makes us stronger as a city, is not to hear everything's going great, but to understand where can we improve, because we're not doing our job if we're not hearing what's happening on the ground and being able to respond appropriately. I think I echo a lot of the sentiment that Councilmember Bonilla shared. I think having the CSC play more of an advisory role as part of their function feels important. We are going through a similar transformation in the Personnel Commission as well, where rather than just being a rubber stamping commission, we're trying to look at our residents who, our people are our greatest resource, and we recruit really talented commissioners. We want to hear their input. We want to see their insight. We want to understand where our blind spots are based off the lived experience and professional experience they bring to the table. So the ways that we can experiment with opening that up so commissioners are providing more value to the city and also making the best use of their time as well is something that I'm very supportive of, and I think the advisory capacity makes sense there. As far as technical assistance goes, I'm not entirely sure, given that we haven't received a lot of nonprofit feedback leading up to this meeting, I'm not entirely sure if that's what the nonprofits want or need. I see the benefit to the idea of providing technical assistance, but a lot of these nonprofits also hire staff grant writers. I think it takes in a tremendous amount of staff time to coordinate with volunteers and onboard them into their own processes and practices. And there's a level of complication that I'm not quite sure if I want to go down that path as it relates to working with nonprofits. I think training up commissioners on how to properly audit nonprofits to make sure that as a resident they feel like the service that they're getting from maybe the customer or user experience is positive is something that I think when Councilmember Roach mentioned auditing, I'm open to a version of that, but one that's not super involved or it takes up a lot of staff time. I'm also interested in treating when we say advisory, seeing our commissioners, our community service commissioners as a bit of a focus group where we provide a lot of services as a city, from Access Hayward to our permitting process, to our water bill process, to our public Wi-Fi process. And I'm curious, just as folks that we are appointing to be out and represent different aspects of the community, what are their thoughts on how we're currently provisioning services and how could those be improved? I think that's a ripe opportunity for on-the-ground feedback. Are the services we're providing meeting the mark? Not just through our nonprofit providers, but as a city as well. And can we facilitate easy ways for us to maybe queue up and say, your assignment this month is to understand how the city is doing water and come back with feedback on it at our next session. I don't know, and I'm open to the commission hashing out this idea and seeing if it makes sense to them. But I just, the core of my feedback is I really want the commissioner's insight more than just a budget that they put forward. I want to understand where we're missing the mark and where we could get better. I also agree that we need to move equipment type purchases out of CDBG funding, so I'm definitely aligned there. I also want us to be very serious, and maybe this is something we formalize in a strategic roadmap process down the line. Restoring our community agency funding feels very critical. When we talk about fighting a lot of social ills, everyone talks about how prevention is really the most effective, cost-effective, and effective in terms of saving lives. And I see our community agency funding as that prevention fund, and I think it's really important that we bring that back. Otherwise, we're adding costs to ourselves down the line and to people's lives as well. I think I'm mostly in alignment with the comments that were made before me. Just wanted to provide a few more dimensions to it, but otherwise, I'm supportive of what's before us tonight. I'm happy to support the CDBG recommendations. I'm really excited about the community needs assessment being something that the commissioners can carry out. And again, a little skeptical on technical assistance specifically, open to auditing, but in a very lightweight fashion that, I would deprioritize that if it was too difficult to manage from a staff perspective and coordinate from a staff perspective, but open to it nonetheless. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you. Thank you to the commissioners and the chair for calling in, and thank you to staff for this report. I wanted to acknowledge the funding being cut. I know that was really tough for your commission, and I am interested in seeing what other opportunities the CSC can do that would be beneficial to those folks that are impacted by the cuts. And one thing I was thinking about was yesterday we had our Economic Development Committee. And the thing that really sticks out in economic development is this pain point of managing events. Who manages events? It seems to be a hot potato in this city. And I know that arts and culture was a portion of the community services review. And I was looking at what other cities were doing, and we were discussing how it would be great if we had a fund similar to what we see in other cities, like the Oakland Fund, or we have East Bay Community Foundation Fund, Silicon Valley Community Fund. And just figure out a way, how do we retain that arts and culture given our city budget issues? And so a lot of us, council members included, we go out and seek that funding. We go out and try to fundraise and do this work on our free time. This is not part of being a council member, is to go out and do arts and culture and events. This is something that we like to do to bring community engagement to the city. And it would be great if we can have some research done by the Community Services Commission to give a recommendation to council. How would you create this fund? And what would the city's role be in that, in order to replenish what we were doing with the Arts and Culture Fund, but also make it bigger? I mean, a lot of the funds that we were distributing were really small grants, where other cities, they have really large grants, and they're reaching out to these foundations to get a lot of money in order to put on events in arts and culture. So I would think that would be something that would be in line with what you all were doing when you were reviewing grants. Maybe this is a way to just do more research for us, so we can see how we can support those efforts in the future. One of the reasons why I brought up the fire department equipment in this fund is that I do have some concerns about that too. I would like to see us, for that category of funding, I would like to see the actual language of what can apply, what items can be applied for that funding. And I agree, I'm not sure if we should continue those kinds of allocations, given that so many community partners were impacted. But just being transparent to the community as well, the fire department was impacted too, and the equipment that is being acquired is going to help those that are going to be that they have been identified as low to moderate income, and they do have that need. There was a needs assessment that was for that allocation, but I do understand the confusion that could be, and so that's why I did want to call it out, especially because it was the largest dollar amount. So I would like to revisit that category in the future, but I understand the needs for this year. I do actually agree with the CSC having an advisory role, but I do have also concerns about the second bullet point of providing technical assistance, because we have a community services commission with people with varied backgrounds. And to provide technical assistance to something, to a nonprofit can be, I think, actually concerning for me. So what I would recommend is that the CSC refer folks back to either economic development or to the Small Business Development Center at Cal State East Bay. Those people are trained to help nonprofits become nonprofits versus relying on our members to help them with their operations and budgeting. I have concerns about that too. And I'm sure there are probably some members who may not feel comfortable doing that type of work. I think they would prefer just reviewing the application and allocating funds. So that's my feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Goldstein.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair Wheeler and Commissioners Gunn and Wong, for your years of dedication to the Community Services Commission, and especially for coming tonight and expressing your points of view. Appreciate that. I agree with my colleagues. In fact, I think that the recommendations that they've spoken about are worth pursuing. Similarly, I have concerns about the technical assistance part of that. If there's new information that comes to light about how we might proceed with that, I'd be willing to revisit it, but at the current time I have some issue with that. But I do like the idea of putting in some measurement and accountability. So we've been actually talking about that even during my tenure as the liaison for CSE, about how do we ensure that the community agency funded agencies are actually achieving the results that they say that they are, And more importantly, are those results actually aligned with our goals? And then in addition to that, are there overlaps? Are we spending too much money in certain program areas and not funding enough in other program areas? We know, for example, with BAC's Bay Area Community Services, that the variety of wraparound services that they provide need to be coordinated. And so part of my concern when I'm addressing this question is, are we providing the right supportive steps in the right manner at the right time to achieve the holistic end result that we're really after? And you know, I've been involved in the recovery space for about a decade and a half, and my feeling is that there's not a lot of coordination. And so I really would like to see more coordination along those lines. I think BACS does a great job, but I think we as a community can do more. And I think the Community Services Commission might really be able to step up into that role. So I would like to see that go on. I agree with the recommendations, with the staff recommendations. I'm especially pleased to see that we're continuing to support the Navigation Center, home rehab, and Habitat for Humanity. I think those are really key programs to assisting people in various stages of homelessness. So I thank you for that. Good job on the report. Thank you for the recommendations. I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Councilmember Zermeño.
Thank you, Mayor. And Emily, thank you again for the report. My question was asked. I'm not as concerned as some of my colleagues about the technical assistance, because it may mean several things. It may mean auditing. It may mean being referred to somebody else. So I'm open to it. I think it's a good idea. I also like the other item on the other recommendation. I appreciate Mr. Gunn and Calvin, Mr. Wong. No, yeah, Mr. Wong. And Ms. Wheeler, who called in. It is really sad that we did lose all those funds, and I'm sure that all of those folks out there who were getting funds every year, all of a sudden it stopped, so it's not right. So I'm hoping that when the fat cows return, we can go back to issuing some helpful funds to these organizations, because they are our community. We're here for our community, and they are here for us. I've always seen the commission as a recommending body, but also I've seen it as an advisory body, because every year they come in and they give us ideas. They give us ways to improve the process. So I appreciate the words from colleague Bonilla about advising and telling us what can be done better, how we can improve, maybe looking at other pots of grants. So that's very important as far as I'm concerned. So those are all my comments. I thank you again very much. Please keep doing a good job. I think next year it will be better. And apologies to all of our organizations who were not recipients of any of the funds this year. So thank you.
Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. I want to thank Ms. Wong for picking up where I know Amy left off, especially in such a strange year, you know, when things had to change as you went along. So I appreciate you moving everyone forward and, you know, continuing now to work with the commission and how to see it as a 2.0, I think, as Councilmember Bonilla said. And thank you to the commissioners for being here tonight and for your work on the recommendations. I will be supporting the recommendations. I also really want to thank our liaison on this work, because he served 8 years on the Community Service Commission, and including has the history of how the commission was changed when he was on there between two previous commissions, and how to move that forward. I got to serve for 4 years with him on that. But I'm going to, I like all the recommendations that were talked about tonight. As long as it's something that sort of the liaison and the staff are discussion with the commission and they come up with a comfortable way forward, I'm going to support that and defer to everyone doing that hard work. I said audit, doesn't have to be an audit, but some other way of looking at what our agencies are doing, and we're going to get the most bang for our buck, basically, in this hard work. And I just want to acknowledge, it was a very severe thing that we did by cutting that funding this year, and it was not something anyone wanted to do. I mean, these are our agencies doing all of the hard work in the community, filling that need for our most vulnerable populations, and that was obviously not done lightly. I'm committing to bringing back those funds as soon as we can bring those funds back, so that this sort of talk of what it looks like in the future will just be on top of the good work of the funding, of getting back to funding our community agencies. Because that was the work I loved to do when I was on the commission, and I'd like to see us go forward with that in the future. So I will look forward to that day when we bring that back. And I just, continue to thank you for the work you're doing, continue to try to, figure this out now with, as we go forward, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with the general sentiment up here. I also, like Councilmember Roach, want to, defer and respect the decisions by, our liaison, who has, almost a decade of experience on the CSC, and has seen it develop and grow over the years. So with the general ideas, I agree with. I was very happy to see that some of the stuff that I had wrote prior to the meeting, articulated by Mr. Gunn and Mr. Wong, as I was looking at this report, quite frankly, I was just thinking about, let's just pause. I mean, let's take this time to really rethink what it is that we're doing in the community. I mean, let's do a community assessment. I mean, the Community Services Commission, you guys are all respected, professionals in your own careers. I mean, not all of you, but most of you are educators, you're social workers, you're nonprofit leaders. I mean, the technical expertise that you have in this space is, and there are service gaps out there. I know they exist. They're out there. And so what are those gaps? What are the funding sources? There's, and economic, in the area of economic development, what are some of the gaps in economic development? What are, no one wants to seem to own events around here. I mean, they're expensive, and and not only are they expensive, but they require a lot of mobilization of people and of resources. And I mean, the street parties and the Cinco de Mayo and all. I mean, you see them. I mean, it's right down to the stage. I mean, that's just the logistics of it. Not to mention the pre-planning and all that. But I think there's. And I should say, just to go back to the events, and everyone loves them. Everyone loves the events. And so, anyways, I think this is an opportunity, I think, for the CSC to really, think about what are the needs in the community, and if we can come up with a strategy to assess that, that would be great, and really take a very deep dive, comprehensive look across the city. I just want to make a comment about, this. Well, I want to make a comment about being careful about the gloom and doom, attitude about our budget situation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of this. I mean, I like to be optimistic and say it's going to take us a year. I think it's going to take us probably 2 years, but we're going to get out of this, and I'm hopeful, and we're gonna start to scale up. Hopefully, we're gonna learn from what we've done before, and hopefully when we return, we'll be better, service will be better, agencies that we fund will be more calibrated, they'll be tighter, and I mean, let's get past this year, these next 2 years. The work will get done. We've never said no. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. We've never said no up here. And, but now we're saying no. We're saying no, give us 2 years and we'll get back. And so, I wanna be careful I wanna be careful and not send the message like it's over. All of this is done, because it's not, And so I wanna, I just wanna sort of be clear about that, because there's, I just don't want to fall into that trap. Secondly, I've said this before. In fact, I've been up here some time, and I've said this more than 3 times. But every time we get to, when we're at the front end of this process, when we plan and we make suggestions as to what we want to do with the CDBG funds, I've always been a big proponent of, let's identify a problem and tackle it. One problem. If it's homelessness, let's tackle it. If it's youth homelessness, let's tackle it. If it's food insecurity, let's tackle it. One issue. But I think we are sort of spreading. We're not going to solve homelessness with $100,000. That's not going to happen. We're not going to solve hunger with a $25,000 check contribution to the food bank. We're not gonna solve it that way. And so, maybe this is that opportunity where we sit down and think about, what is that one thing that we really want to solve? And, I'll tell you, just to, kind of throw this out there, one of the most successful projects we've seen here in the city of Hayward, and CSC never, didn't fund it, and I don't want to say never funded, but CSC had no role in funding it or anything, but it was the Hayward Promise neighborhood. Here you had a cradle to career pipeline that had 14 agencies, all well coordinated, with the backbone agency at Cal State East Bay. And, they were trying to stop poverty within 1 generation, from preschool to graduate school. And, and of course, the Trump administration pulled their funding, and not everything is stopped. They're still doing some things, but they trimmed back exponentially, you see. And that was one model that truly was citywide, from early childhood education to healthcare, prenatal, postnatal, early childhood, K-12, community college, university to career. And so we have models out there, and there are things that we can do, and we've seen these successful things. So I just in summary, I just want to say, I don't want the community to think that where we are at today, we will be for the rest of our lives, because we're not. And and we're going to we're going to come back. We're going to come back stronger, and and we're going to be better for it. So before I close my final comments, Ms. Thomas, do you have everything you need? And
We do need to, we need you to vote, but other than that, yes.
Other than that, okay. Okay, so, well, I appreciate that. I will, and of course, hold on. Okay, moved by, okay, so Councilmember Bonilla would like to state the motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So
My motion is to move forward the funding recommendations with the clear understanding that this is one time only and shall not be considered ongoing or automatically renewed in future years. I actually want that in the motion. And then additionally, I move to expand the role of the Community Services Commission into an advisory capacity to help identify and advise the City Council on the social, community, and human service needs, including informing updates to the city's community needs assessment and related strategic plans that support vulnerable members of our community.
I second that.
Thank you.
After this first sentence, I was looking at.
But I
Mayor
wanted to
Pro
be
Tem.
clear that I'm not including technical assistance at this point for all of the reasons we mentioned. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I just want to ask a clarifying question. Is the resolution before us just on the funding recommendations, or does it also include recommendations for what the future of CC should look like?
Just funding recommendations and the annual action plan.
But it's fine to include the others. There's
Okay, great.
No staff concern.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure I have the city attorney looking over here. Can you turn on the mic?
I think from my perspective, I'd probably prefer a motion on the funding and a separate motion on essentially giving the commission sort of an expanded role. I mean, I understand the desire to sort of connect the two, but I think my preference would be to sort of focus on the funding recommendation first. If that passes, separate motion on the role of the commission.
Yep, I am totally fine with that.
Okay.
Wait,
So-
I do have a clip. Can I ask?
Yes.
Okay, and because I appreciate everything you've done tonight, and it sounds like you've worked with the commission, but my hesitation here is that you're making a decision about what the future of the commission looks like, but I thought we just said we're going to try to work with the commission on what that looks like. And so I'm concerned about defining it right now, because I thought that part was sort of more of a explore this and see what that looks like. So I'm a little concerned about the definition, even though I support the definition. I'm just worried that you haven't necessarily workshop that with the commissioners.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I thought that what staff was asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, is what do we see as the future direction of the CSC? And I think the CSC is asking us to give them direction. I think we workshopped in our last CSC meeting what you guys wanted. I think my motion reflects that. And I also think that it's aligned with the feedback that you guys are asking to receive tonight. But if I'm misunderstanding, I'm open to being corrected.
So let me say this. So I understand the city attorney. We need to make a motion and decide on the item on hand as a clean vote. I get that. Secondly, with the comments that Councilmember Bonilla made, all of his comments, along with the rest of the council comments, are all point taken, note taken. Staff has heard us. The CSC has heard us, and all of this was encompassed in the questions on slide whatever it was. So can we move and vote on item 9 with the understanding that all of the subsequent comments are included in that motion? With putting aside the just call it the special motion that Councilmember Bonilla made, the comments that have all been made, will all of those be synthesized and workshopped?
Can I offer an outcome that agrees with what you're saying?
Yeah.
I think what Councilmember Bonilla is looking for is a concrete change to the CSC scope here, which I think is important. And to Councilmember Roach's point, I think there still is room within that scope. I think Councilmember Bonilla is providing a definition that then allows that freedom of movement for the commission to figure out together with staff and with the liaison. So I'm still supportive of that language. I think my hesitation here is that motion's on an item that wasn't agendized. And so my request would be the motion to approve this item, and the amendment is to bring back on consent an updated, expanded mission statement for the CSC that is aligned with what Councilmember Bonilla just articulated here. And then that way we're voting on a formal change to the CSC bylaws, and it's not like we're mixing up two separate items. Does that sound reasonable to you, Councilmember Bonilla, or does that make sense to my colleagues here?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I don't even know if we need to do a formal vote here, but if we're at a consensus to say what I just said, that we want this to be an advisory body, we want it to be focused on these three things, we want it to include the community needs assessment, blah, 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 right? How do we get that? Do we need to then do what Councilmember Syrup said and come back and agendize that? Because I'm totally fine doing that. But I think the contention that I don't want to continue to perpetuate is this lack of direction that the CSC is feeling that they're not getting from council. And unless we're ready to make a decision tonight, the issue is still going to be the issue and it's going to go unsolved.
Agreed.
I like the Mayor Pro Tem's suggestion.
Then
Vote
I
on the
agree with
funding
that as well.
recommendation tonight, direct staff to come back with an action item that encompasses the expanded role, community assessment, and so on.
Using Councilmember Bonilla's language that he articulated in that original motion, just to be clear, because I liked the language that he had put forward. Okay.
We will return to the recording. And
Okay.
write it down.
Excellent. So then I'll amend my motion and just keep it focused on the approving the funding recommendations that came forward tonight.
So I don't want to parse words, but instead of amending it, you're just restating your motion.
I'm sorry, you want to move the item on the table with the amendment that staff brings back the updated CSC
Yeah.
definition on consent in the future. I think that's the motion you're trying to put
Yes.
forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I will second that.
Okay. City Attorney, we're good?
So we're clear that staff will bring back an action item to be agendized to vote on with the expanded role. Yes, clear.
Yes, okay. Okay. Moved by Councilmember Bonilla, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Syrup. Madam City Clerk, we can vote. And it looks like we are 2 for 2 for tonight. Thank you. And it passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to item number 10. This is our legislative business. California Public Employees Retirement System Contract. Adoption of a resolution of intention to introduce an ordinance approving an amendment to the contract between the City of Hayward and the California Public Employees Retirement System, or Classic members, in the International Association of Firefighters Local 1909, Hayward Fire Officers Association, Hayward Fire Chiefs Association, Hayward Police Officers Association, Hayward Police Management Unit, and Underrepresented Safety Executive Group. This is going to come to us by way of our Human Resources Director, Director Texon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to forego staff report, and I'm going to return to council and see if they have any questions concerning the report. Seeing none, I will open up for public comment. I don't have any public comment cards, and I don't see any hands online. So I will come back to the dais and see if there is a motion in a second. And it has been moved by Councilmember Goldstein, seconded by somebody. Seconded by Councilmember Zermeño. Madam City Clerk, we can vote. And the item passes unanimously. Next is council reports and announcements. Councilmember Andrews.
I just want to thank all the staff who organized Make a Difference Day at Weeks Park on Saturday. And I also want to thank Hard, who was also out there, and all the community partners that came out for the day. I think at least 200, close to 300 attendees. So good job. Thanks.
Yeah, and thank you for El Taquito for serving all that food. Yeah, I don't know what it takes to serve all that food, but I just saw a lot of to-go boxes. Mayor Pro Tem Syrup.
Thank you, Mayor. Chiming in from my occasional role as mosquito czar and Hayward representative of on the Alameda County Mosquito Abatement District Board of Trustees. Alameda County had its first case of reported West Nile virus. They found a dead bird and it tested positive for West Nile virus. There are no cures for West Nile virus, and so during the mornings and the evenings, please do try to wear long sleeves. Try to avoid being out or being bit by mosquitoes. And if you see any dead birds, then one thing I want you to remember is to report dead birds. You can go to mosquitoes.org. It's a very simple URL, mosquitoes.org. Report any dead birds you see because we'll come pick it up, we'll test it, and it'll help inform where we can trap mosquitoes so we can target where it's coming from and keep it out of our city. So please be safe out there and report dead birds. Thank you.
And stay away from Councilmember Syrup. No, I'm kidding. Don't stay away from him. Okay, anyone else? Okay. There are no council referrals, and so I wanted to adjourn tonight. There are two people that we have lost in our city. I first would like to adjourn in the name of Rosemary Ramos. Rosemary Ramos passed away at the age of 97, leaving behind a remarkable legacy of family, service, and creativity, and deep community involvement. For 79 years, Hayward was her home, and after marrying the love of her life, Joseph Francis Ramos, in 1947, together they built not only a loving family, but they also built a trusted independent insurance agency that served Hayward families and businesses for more than 3 decades, helping insure homes, vehicles, and local businesses throughout the community. Rosemary was a devoted wife for 48 years and a proud mother of 2 children. Her greatest joy came from her growing family, which expanded to include 3 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren, all of whom were touched by her warmth, wisdom, and unwavering support. A woman of deep faith and service, Rosemary was an active member of All Saints Parish for many decades. She dedicated countless Saturdays teaching in the CCD program, supported students and families through the Parent-Teacher Association, while her children attended parish school and worked through the Young Ladies Institute to help secure scholarships for students attending Catholic high schools. Her commitment to Hayward extended well beyond the church community. Rosemary proudly served several terms on the Burbank Area Redevelopment Commission, where she advocated for neighborhood preservation, community integrity, and she continued to improve. She continued improvement of Hayward neighborhoods. Rosemary's artistic talents brought beauty and inspiration to countless people. As a member of the Hayward Arts Association, she served as artist in residence and volunteered on numerous mural projects throughout Hayward. She was also active in San Leandro Art Association and the Castro Valley Quilters Guild, where she created beautiful quilts and paintings that became treasured gifts for her children, grandchildren, friends, and neighbors. Her artistic excellence earned her dozens of blue ribbons at the Alameda County Fair. She embraced life with curiosity and adventure, traveling extensively with her husband, later with her sister and her dear friends. Her journeys included a steamship voyage down the Mississippi River, an Alaskan cruise, and memorable travels through the Azores, Madeira, Italy, Greece, France, Germany, Austria, and Israel. In her later years, Rosemary became the beloved matriarch of both her family and her husband's family, serving as the oldest surviving member of her generation. She remained a steadfast and loving presence at weddings, birthdays, graduations, family gatherings, plays, and concerts, and holiday celebrations. Her smile, her holiday cookies, and her consistent encouragement will deeply be missed by all who knew and loved her. Rosemary leaves behind a lasting example of civic pride, generosity, faith, and active involvement in her community life. She believed Hayward was not simply a place to live, but the best place to live, a value she passed on to her family and to everyone fortunate enough to know her. And I just wanted to say personally, Rosemary Ramos, she attended every city event. She attended every street fair. She attended every event we had in the rotunda or here, in the front, in the plaza, and she was always here, and she always found time to make it. So, in her name and her memory, I adjourn tonight's meeting. And Madam City Manager, if we can connect with her family and we can find a place to plant a tree in her name. We also lost, in fact, recently, the other day, we lost a gentleman named Dennis Upp, a longtime resident of Hayward's Southgate neighborhood and a dedicated advocate for public safety and community service, passed away on the evening of May 2nd following a courageous battle with cancer. Dennis was widely respected for his years of service and leadership in the Hayward community. He served as past president of the Bridgepoint condominiums and was an active block captain with Hayward Neighborhood Alert. For many years, he organized national night out gatherings, helping strengthen neighborhood relationships and foster safer communities throughout South Hayward. Committed to emergency preparedness and public safety, Dennis was certified through the city of Hayward, and generously shared his knowledge by assisting with training seminars for others. His dedication extended beyond Hayward through his involvement with San Jose Search and Rescue, where he participated in search and rescue missions across the Bay Area. Dennis devoted countless hours to ensuring the safety and well-being of others and leaves behind a legacy of service, leadership, and compassion. Dennis was also a valued neighbor and dear friend to many who knew him over the years. His kindness, civic spirit, and unwavering commitment to helping others made a lasting impact on the Hayward community. He is survived by his wife, Daisy Upp, a nurse at St. Rose Hospital. Dennis will be deeply missed by his family, friends, neighbors, and all those lives he touched through the years through his dedicated service. Madam City Manager, we will connect with his family and we can have a tree planted in his name too. So I adjourn tonight's meeting in the name of Dennis Upp, a longtime resident of Hayward and in the Southgate neighborhood. For Dennis Upp and for Rosemary Ramos, God bless them. Meeting adjourned.
Record.